You try that again.
So I'm gonna do roll call.
We are now in session for workshop at 5:12 PM.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, council members, so we have Matt Pressey on Zoom, who's our acting finance director. And he has a short presentation, kind of mid-year update, so we're gonna turn it over to him to give you an update on state, federal, and local economics in our budget situation. So take it away, Matt.
All right. Thank you, Alan. Let me share. There we go. Awesome. So this is a mid-year review. We're kind of covering some high-level things. We've got, the state of California, as Alan mentioned, the city's economic condition, and then some kind of high level covering some adjustments related to the city of Clearlake. So at a big picture from the state budget perspective, things are actually looking better than they've projected in the past. The 3.22 million is obviously an increase. The budget never decreases, it only grows, but they did balance the budget this year, which is really good. And there was a 16.5 billion revenue projection, higher than projected revenue, which was a 2.7% increase from the prior year. Also, it does factor in they will still be drawing from the state's reserve, their stabilization account, the tune of about 7.1 million. And that's because they have some future deficits, which is the last bullet point. We'll get to that. So 15.4 billion will be the reserve balance at the end, down from 22 roughly. And they have a 93 billion unused borrowable funds. That's kind of one of their flexible pots of how they manage their budget. And then the last bullet point, they are projecting a multi-year deficit. So in FY 27, 28, and 29, they still are projecting a deficit. And so they'll need to continue to work on addressing that. But overall, the economy's been strong and good. There's been positive economic indicators and growth in 24, and we're experiencing that this year. And then looking forward, they still project, at least at the national level, strong gross domestic product growth. There is a slowing of jobs but slowing of growth versus a decline. Personal income is still, they're projecting it to continue to grow. Increased residential building permits is also projected to grow, and continue an elevated interest rate environment as we've experienced. It's come down a little bit, and the feds will probably continue to lower it, but it's still at a high level. And then projected moderate inflation. We have experienced some strong inflation the last 3 years or so, but we will see that tapering off, but still have inflation pressures. So all of that means it's good for the economy, it's good at the state level, and it's good for Clearlake. Just wanted to give you a little bit of detail on the property tax, and we'll cover sales tax for Clearlake. The trend has been moderate growth, slight growth, and I've presented both lines partly because we are one of the agenda items on consent is the budget, and there's a adjustment for property tax. I'm going to cover it now. The property tax growth, you'll see toward the right side of the chart, it goes up pretty steep in starting in fiscal year 22. 23 was the big growth, 24, and this year we're projecting more than we budgeted, so we're proposing a budget adjustment. And that particular history budget has been real close to actual, except for those last 3 years. It's the property tax has grown higher, and it's due to basically the median home prices and going up, sales going up, and people, once they sell, the market, the more value they sell it at, becomes the new assessed value base that the property tax is based on. So we're seeing a lot of that, in the city in general, and so that will drive up. And we've been conservative on the budget side. So once we've realized, or we realize the change each year, um, and we now are adjusting that budget. So in the real estate market, comparing to last year, the median sales price went up in Clearlake by about 23,000, almost 24 from last year, which is 11% increase. And the state is seeing that all over the place. Number of homes sold compared to last year was down. Um, and but the once a home does go up for sale, it's 39 days on the market, which is really fast. And that's versus 61 days on the market last year and versus 112 days on the market just 2 years ago. So the market is still hot, even though and interest rates are coming down now. So maybe we'll see that pick up. Looking at sales tax, which is the second biggest revenue source for the city, we have the 24-year actuals at 2.2 million, and that was a decrease from the previous year. So we are definitely keeping an eye out on sales tax, and that's about 63,000 decrease. The FY25 property or sales tax, we are projecting a slight decrease this year based even compared to budget as one of the adjustments. And that's based on HDL. They're our sales tax consultant, and they do almost not, I don't want to say half the cities in the state, but a lot of, probably over half the cities in the state. They get the data from the state, and they specialize in forecasting and tracking of sales tax revenue. So they gave us a revised projection of 2.11 million. And compared to last year, the 24 year that closed, that is a 5% decrease. After that, there is modest growth that they're projecting, which is good. And so we'll keep an eye on that, as I mentioned. And this is just a quick shot of compared to the 23 to 24. We did have decreases on all of them, all the categories of sales tax. So general consumer goods went down about 20,000. This was about a little less than 8. The county pool, food and drug went down about 20, a little over 20. Fuel also went down. Restaurants and hotels actually went up, which was good. Building instruction down. Auto and transportation was pretty much even. A little increase, and business and industry was an increase. So just gives you a little idea of how from one year to the next it's changed. Measure V, similarly, we have 2.6 million, which is a slight decrease from 23, and then forecast for this year about break even, a little bit less, as well, and we're not adjusting the budget for that. And then an increase thereafter, so growth in the Measure V sales tax. So that is kind of a quick summary of what's going on, tackling the major revenue sources. We did review the budget with all the department heads, and we had, aside from the revenue adjustments, I mentioned property tax and sales tax. Transient occupancy tax, we're proposing a slight decrease in that. Our budget was a little too high, so this is more realistic of what we're going to end the year at. And then penalties and delinquencies, that one is already, the actuals are already over that. So this brings us right in line with what we've already received so far this year. So it's a total of 229 in revenue adjustments of a net increase, and then we have allocated those to areas of our budget that we should address. And those, in summary, there's code enforcement, salary and benefits. We had a CDBG grant that was that half a million that ended, and we have a 1.5 million that's gonna start, but it hasn't started yet. So there is a timing delay. So we need to, the general fund will need to pick that up, 70 million this fiscal year. And then over time, we'll need 120 more. And then these two other ones, chamber upgrades and IT consulting services. So those balance, and our budget is still balanced. So that concludes my presentation. The key takeaways are the budget really is on track with some small adjustments needed, and we will continue to watch all of the spending and do so conservatively. And in the consent agenda, item number 5, that's where there's a resolution to approve those adjustments. I just went through that total, the 229. So that's it. Any questions or comments? Thank you.
Any questions? No?
There's one thing I want to add on the CDBG. What was mentioned is correct. We had a $500,000 grant. It ended. We used the money up last fiscal year. We had the $1.5 million grant approved, and we were notified of the award, but we still haven't. That happened in June. We still haven't gotten the agreement signed with HCD because they haven't sent it to us yet, and that's been frustrating and difficult. We did finally get them to agree to go ahead and let us start spending the money before signing the agreement, but there's still a gap, and I am planning on asking our legislators to put pressure on HCD to let us close this gap and use the funding. It's just ridiculous that we're held responsible for these delays. I mean, this is the grant program that we got the 500,000 from is the same grant program with the same agreement that we're getting the 1.5 million, and it's still literally it's been over 6 months, and they still haven't given us the agreement to sign. So we do think it's the responsible thing to do to adjust the budget to make sure that that's covered, because there's no guarantee, but I'm going to try our best to still get them to agree to cover the cost of that gap. So I just want to share that. If there's no other questions, okay, go ahead.
We're talking in the past about some unfunded liability. Is that we've paid some off, it's some offs in the past, but we still kind of in a good position with that?
Well, I mean, that's a complicated answer. I mean, I don't know if I would say we're in a good position. I mean, I think we're in a better position than a lot of jurisdictions. I do think that we need to do another workshop on that specifically here sometime. When we were at the new council members conference, there was some discussion about this, but obviously how that all works is quite complicated. I mean, we're still doing the things that the council directed us to do a few years ago, which is instead of paying, each pay period, we prepay the unfunded liability up front in June, so we get some savings as a result of that. And then as time goes on, of course, with pension reform, employees that were not a government employee prior to 2013, the retirement formula is different. So it's cheaper for the city to provide retirement benefits to those folks. So over the long term, there is continuing to be savings as that goes on. But I think we should dig into that. I mean, it's as you'll recall, it's heavily reliant on how CalPERS's earnings in the market are each year, and sometimes they do well and sometimes they don't do well. But when they don't do well, we have to pay for the loss.
So they adjust their income on, yearly on a 5-year basis, correct? Is that how they look at it?
Well, they do smooth it over 5 years. So if they get, like there was a couple of years ago, they got like a 22% return, which is great, but they only realized that over 5 years because it smooths out the swings that were happening. But, I think the last couple of years, it's been negative, and so we have to balance that out. And those are also smoothed out over 5 years.
You know what they're predicting now? Is it above 7%?
I don't know if Matt can speak to it. I mean, things have been pretty volatile in the market lately, so I mean, it is largely reflective of the stock market, although they have investments in other things.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it specifically to see what they're projecting, but it's going to be up. It's going to be healthy, above what their normal discount rate is. Yeah, they're doing good right now. Interest rates overall are up. The market is up. And they're diversified, their portfolio is diversified in all the major areas. So, yeah, it's going to be better, and that will help our cost in the next few years. And it is smooth. There's a ramping up period over, I think it's a 5-year ramp up, and they amortize it over 20 years, and then there's a kind of a ramp down at the end. So it's um, yeah, smoothed out. We don't get all of the benefit right away.
I mean, another thing
It's
that's
good.
been rough the last few years, but should benefit us in the future is they forced down the assumed rate of return,
Yeah.
which makes our costs go up because you're assuming you're going to get less back. But the idea is to push that down and then beat the assumed rate of return. So
we forward the account for money that we're not using, right? Is that not anymore? No.
we our funds are in the state investment pool. We don't use the account. Local agency investment fund.
I thought at one point we was account. No more.
Any other questions about budget? I do have a couple other budget things I wanted to talk about. I do think that we can't really understate the how we need to be conservative right now. I mean, you saw we're heavily reliant on sales tax, and we haven't had significant drops, but it is we haven't seen growth for a few years, and we're fortunate that I think it's reflective of the investments we're making in infrastructure and other things that is pushing our property tax up. So that's really good. But like the growth that we can realize this year, I mean, we may see significant growth in the future, but it's not going to be to that level because we were being conservative on budgeting a little bit as well. So I do think that we need to have some conversations about how to increase revenue over time. I'm not advocating for going out and adding another sales tax or anything like that, but I think there are some other things that we should talk about. So I just want to kind of raise them and see if there's interest in pursuing any of these from the council. And then we would obviously, I don't want to spend effort and possibly some consulting fees to do this if it's not something that the council is interested in. So property transfer tax, over the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years in particular, there's been a number of cities that have became a charter city specifically for the purposes of initiating property transfer tax. And so this is an additional amount that you can just add on when a transaction happens for property transfer. Now, we get a small amount from the county already when that happens. But this would be another way to possibly generate some revenue. So, getting into the weeds on the charter city part of it, for some reason, that's a mechanism that is allowed. There are charter cities which have more independence from the state. That's why they're created that way. We're a general law city, so we don't have that, but you can actually become a charter city for the purposes of this. So, just the last election, I think there were 4 cities in California that tried this. 2 of them were successful, 2 of them were not.
Does it get voted on? How does it get
Yeah, we'll go on the ballot. So it's something to consider. You can cut, I mean, there's quite a wide variety of how much revenue various jurisdictions ask for that. And Matt has done a little bit of research around that, so we could share it. That's one idea. Franchise fees is another thing that we charge for doing business in the city and in the right of way. So government agencies are not subject to that. So, because we don't have utilities, there's more utilities that could be subject to a franchise fee. So currently AT&T, AT&T does not pay a franchise fee. They would potentially be subject to it. We did try to push that on them a few years ago, and it didn't go anywhere. So it's something that we could pick up again.
What kind of potential revenue would it generate?
Well, let me go through the ones that we have right now, and then I could give you a little bit of indication of that. So PG&E, that's a fairly significant one. The waste company is actually the largest. They pay 15%. Golden State Water has one that was initiated when City Manager Folsom was here. I would say maybe around 2016, 2017. So those are kind of the ones. MediaCom, that one, it's dwindling because fewer people are using cable than they used to. It's around 60,000 a year. It was about 100,000 maybe when I started here. So that one is dwindling. Golden State pays about 25,000. PG&E, I don't recall off the top of my head, but it would be probably 200,000 range. So it's generally organized as a percentage of the company's revenue. So, I mean, revenue is one piece of it, but the requirements of operating in our right of way is another part of it. Like with our projects with PG&E and Golden State this year, our franchise agreement, both of those has been important to make sure that they move, relocate, deal with the infrastructure that could be potentially in the way of our road projects. And it's essentially the franchise agreements say, if we're doing a project, you have to get the stuff out of the way. There's really two opportunities under a franchise fee or franchise agreement for revenue, and then oversight of that work, which would be Highlands Water and AT&T. Another thing, there's kind of two things related to TOT, one of which we're already working on and doesn't require an action of the council, but some of our forms, so TOT is paid for hotels and vacation rentals in the city. We have a 9% rate. So 9% of the room rate is paid and comes as a discretionary tax to the city. That's pretty low. Slightly below Lakeport is 10%. The county is still 9%. You go into perhaps maybe more vibrant tourist areas, Napa, I mean, you're closer to 15%. I think it's even higher than that, San Francisco. This is something that would also have to go on the ballot, but I think considering a 1% increase or something like that, it might be worth considering, which would generate another 100 to 150,000 revenue potentially.
Do you feel that we captured all the short-term rentals at this point?
I think I don't think we have much loss. Where we recently discovered we are losing revenue is, and I don't know the history of how this started, but on our TOT form, we actually have a field where, so transient by definition means that it's 30-day or less stay, right? And so our zoning ordinance limits the stay in a hotel to 30 days or less. But we created this line on our form that says that if there's a stay longer than 30 days, you're exempt from paying TOT after the 30-day period. It's not in our ordinance, so I don't know how that happened. So that's changing, okay? So I mean, you're really not supposed to stay in a hotel longer than 30 days, but if you do, regardless, we expect to get revenue. We found out that there are some hotels that are doing this, and so we're going to be working through that process, which may generate, yeah, I don't have an analysis on that, but some additional.
That, an example of that would be during harvest.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of it, I mean, you have a lot of contractors, specifically the Best Western has a lot of contractors that, even when they were doing the housing projects in Kelseyville a few years ago, a lot of those contractors stayed here and, they were there for, kind of 3 or 4 months at a time. But what you're supposed to do, I mean, the hotel can make you move to a different room and then consider that to be, the end of the 30-day period.
Or sometimes they just stay during the week and leave on the weekends.
Yeah,
That's that would also.
right. As long as there's a disruption. Yeah. So a couple other things. The street lights we'll be talking about tonight. So I mean, one reason that's not really a general fund benefit because we're paying for the street lights that we have, whether we own them or PG&E owns them. Most of that is being paid really out of our gas tax revenue. But we'll get into that more, but if we create a lighting district that has a separate revenue source that can pay that, it will free up those gas tax and potentially some general fund to be used for other things. And the other thing which will be coming at the next meeting in March is the rental registration program, which we've been working on for a long period of time. And one thing that will help us with is that there'll be fees associated with that program to have your registration inspection. We staffed up at the beginning of this fiscal year with some new staff in building that will implement that program. So right now we're actually bearing the costs of the personnel that will implement the program without getting any fees. So when we get that program implemented and we're collecting fees, that will offset the current burden on the general fund. So that's kind of my high level list. I guess just like to see if there's interest in any of these in giving some direction to staff to pursue any of these options. Or, obviously that would include digging into it a little bit more and coming back to the council with what that looks like.
I think so. We can streamline some of the regular rental. Yeah, I think we can get some of the other utilities to be involved better. That would be good. And I think the lighting district is a great idea.
That's long overdue. Long getting light.
I worked on projects way back when. I would call it that when it was called landscape lighting district.
How does the lighting district create its own revenue? What kind of services does it provide to?
Yeah, so and we'll get into it a little bit more later, but normally there's a property tax assessment that's associated with owning a property in that district. Mm-hmm. And then that revenue would pay for what we would be looking at, because we would have to, I don't want to get too far into that agenda item, but PG&E owns most of the lights. It would be beneficial over time for us to buy those lights for PG&E. And then of course we have a huge shortage of lights in the city, so we have to pay to add more. So we would need to do some debt, borrow money to buy the lights and add new lights, and then that property tax revenue from the district that would be created would pay that debt, and then the ongoing electricity and stuff associated with it. So I'm not normally an advocate for borrowing money, but I think this is really the only way to make this happen.
Can the public speak at any point in time in this, or?
Go ahead.
I mentioned to Alan not too long ago in the courthouse.
Could you please tell your name?
Oh, my name is Ben Hiddle. I was teaching solar and
Do you-
sustainable construction at
Do
Mendocino
you live in
College.
the city? We usually ask if you're a resident of the city.
I'm a resident of Lake County, but not the city.
Okay.
I was hoping to come, and I spoke with Alan a couple months ago at the courthouse about raising some revenue potentially because of my job teaching solar and sustainable construction at the college, kind of lent itself to a deeper understanding that if we put in some solar arrays here, there's possibility for large scale solar revenue to come into the city, increasing rents and potentially attracting even data centers. So I wanted to say that, but there's a biogas potential that we have for increasing rents at the landfill and also the wastewater treatment plant here. And I was hoping to introduce some more novel ways to bring revenue to the city that doesn't have to do with increasing taxes on the individuals, but using our natural resources that we have, sunlight and biogas, in this case, to potentially increase rents.
Okay. Yeah, let's see how.
I did do a quick petition and I brought a feasibility study already to Bruno. I'm not sure if he's going to be here at 6, but I would like to look at it. And I'd like to say it's in revenue of $1 million to $10 million for the solar and same with the biogas projects as well.
Something that's on the agenda. What are you?
I was hoping to get 3 minutes, like,
Oh, you'll have public comment.
yeah, for public comment, that's all I was here. This is an unexpected, wonderful timing to be here because I would love to see more jobs. And part of this is a California Jobs Creation Program, sir. I'm not sure if you guys are in any kind of understanding of that, but I was running part of the renewables program for Lake County. And so trying to produce jobs in Lake County around renewables was what we were tasked at partially, and one of my jobs, and that came up over and over again. And one thing that they had figured out at the California Jobs First, they did a study, and it has to do with Alan, your wife did a study with FEDS, the economic development. They all kind of come together to say that we could make some money off the waste, potentially. There was up to 100 jobs that could be made from the landfill alone. And we know when jobs start happening, taxes come in, and then we reduce our landfill use and turn those into monetary projections, and it helps everybody.
Okay. Well, you may tell us a little bit more public comment tonight, and we'll maybe think it over and get back to you if it makes sense.
Thank you for your time.
Sure.
Any other thoughts on any of it?
What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
I'm okay with moving forward with researching more of the transfer taxes and the franchise fees. I think those are good opportunities.
Okay.
I know it, as a realtor, the transfer tax fees are never really a big deal on our negotiations. It's like $80 for every 1,000 at the county level. So I think as a realtor, I think that would not be a deal breaker for a lot.
Okay. Healdsburg was one of the ones that tried it and failed, so.
Well,
I think
their
wasn't-
prices are
Wasn't it
much
Healdsburg?
higher.
Yeah, and it was a pretty big percentage, but I still would like to check in with them and see what
Yeah.
their thoughts were after that.
So these sidewalk, not sidewalk, sorry, the lights, are you gonna have sidewalks with the lights? Cause typically they go together, you know? Like,
Well, yeah, the lighting district would just support the lights themselves.
is that
We're not
something,
having sidewalk districts, I
Maybe you could
guess.
do a
Yeah.
lighting and sidewalk.
can we do both? Is that something we could look into? Cause I mean,
You're getting to
Well, I mean,
big dollars.
I know, but it's just, especially like on Old Highway 53, like, I just think for public safety,
Lights,
It's
sure.
it is possible to do that.
okay. I mean, we don't have to go like, of course, citywide, but I mean, like, just like potentially working on little bits here and there, I think would be beneficial for the community.
Definitely don't disagree.
Make the city look prettier too.
Okay, so at this time, the property transfer tax and the franchise fees, not any interest in really looking at raising TOT
What does?
I mean, we would have, we wouldn't put it on for 2 years probably if we're doing that one. Well, property transfer tax either, but.
If you could kind of tell, like, how much does Fort Bragg, how much does?
Do an analysis of that.
Yeah,
Just
just
our first start.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to kind of
Because
see.
we have, I mean, people come here, but we don't have as much to offer as these other cities where people are
Yeah,
coming
we
to
have, there's a
vacation and
limit.
stay.
I mean, we can't charge
Right,
Napa.
you
Right.
don't have.
And we're not
some-
in Tahoe, there's,
Okay.
Yeah, Napa would be different, but I think maybe Fort Bragg or
Oh,
something
you said it's
Similar
Lake
to
Forest
that.
10
might be.
Lake Forest 10. Yeah.
or 9?
Where are we at right now?
Or 9.
So you want to be like 10, like competitive, like?
Probably. I mean, there's also the Tourism Improvement District has an assessment, which is 2.5%. So,
have another property tax.
No,
no, it's basically the same as TOT.
Oh.
It's charged that way. But so, you know, if you rent a room here, you're paying 11.5, but we only get 9 of it.
The tourist improvement district is.
Yes, they will present here, they present once a year,
They give their report, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, that's all I need. It looks like you have consensus to look into those 3 options.
I do have one question on the Measure B, funds, is that, I think it was like 2.6?
2.2.
2 point something,
2.2.
is that like per year?
Yes.
That we're getting from that? Okay. And now, because I wasn't here when we just did the recent like road work and is that like, is that like, does that cost more than like what we're getting from
Yes.
Measure B?
Yes, we borrowed money,
Okay,
I guess, 2.5 years ago. So we decided that, I mean, you know, costs of everything increased so much. And, you know, we're making good progress by doing essentially, you know, a mile or 2 a year with the $2 million. But we decided interest rates were still really low at that point and they were getting ready to go up. And so we borrowed $15 million. And so that revenue stream is paying that debt. And then as it continues to go up, we aren't using all of it to pay the debt, but we'll be able to do, there's going to be a slowdown in Measure B projects for a couple of years. Like we're not going to do 20 miles like we did this last year. It's going to be more back to a mile or 2 for a while.
yeah, just a little bits here and there.
I mean, we're still pursuing grants. I mean, we've doubled the Measure B spend with additional grant revenue in the last 5 years or so. So we'll obviously
as
continue.
a self-help, we get.
Extra money, and then we're applying for a competitive pot this year to do 40th and Boyles. But that'll probably be a next year project.
Anything else?
That's it. We can take a break until the
We'll
6th.
roll our cares up there.
I know.
It's not going to my purse.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to the regular meeting of Clearlake City Council and Redevelopment Successor Agency at Clearlake Hall Council Chambers here at 14050 Olympic Drive in Clearlake. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. Madam Clerk, can you please have the roll call?
Councilmember Wilson. Councilmember Hooton. Here. Councilmember Downey. Here. Vice Mayor Slotin.
Here.
Mayor Kramer.
Here. Okay, if I'd stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Wilson, will you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You'd all please remain standing while we have the invocation. Reverend Walker of the Zion Baptist Church, please come up. And thank you so much for leading our invocation.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you have made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Bad circumstances are good. We're still going to thank you for this day and this evening. Heavenly Father, we come before you today with gratitude for the opportunity to serve our Clearlake community. We ask for your wisdom and your guidance as this council makes the decisions that affect the lives of our citizens here. Grant your servants clarity, patience, and a spirit of unity, and that they may work together for the common good for all of the citizens of the city and community of Clearlake, California. Bless our leaders, our residents, and all of those that call this city Clearlake their home. May discussions be fair, their actions just, and our hearts open to the needs of those that they serve. May they always seek justice, love mercy, and walk humbly in their responsibilities. In your precious and holy name we pray. Amen.
And thank you, Reverend Walker. May sit. Okay, our meeting procedures, I will go over here briefly. All items on the agenda will be open for public comments before final action is taken. Citizens wishing to introduce written material into the record at the public meeting on any item are requested to provide a copy of the written material to the Administrative Services Director, City Clerk, prior to the meeting date, so the material may be distributed to the City Council prior to the meeting. Speakers must restrict comments to the item as it appears on the agenda and stay within 3-minute time limit. Mayor, me, has the discretion of limiting the total discussion for an item. If you're on the Zoom meeting, please note that only written comments will be taken via Zoom using the Q&A chat feature. Please enter your comment into the Q&A chat feature. Okay, now for adoption of the agenda. Mr. City Manager, are there any modifications?
No modifications, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. May we have a motion?
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
I second it.
A motion has been made by Vice Mayor Slotin and seconded by Council Member Wilson. Okay, please vote in your portal. It's not refreshing.
Favor?
Yes, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Nay, none. Motion passes to adopt the agenda as presented. Okay, we're going to start off with a presentation by Chief Hobbs to Detective Kelleher.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Tonight, we'll be giving a certificate of commendation to Detective Kelleher. This presentation will be done by Lieutenant Snyder. Lieutenant Snyder oversees the operations division of the police department, which includes patrol and investigations and evidence. So since Detective Kelleher is in investigations, Lieutenant Snyder will do this presentation.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, City Council members and esteemed guests. Today, we honor a remarkable individual whose dedication and service have profoundly impacted our community. Detective Keller, could you please come on up here? All right. Since joining the Clearlake Police Department in March of 2016, Detective Keller has excelled in various roles, accumulating his recent promotion to detective in October 2023. Maverick Data Systems produces a specialized software used by over 1,336 law enforcement agencies nationwide. This software enables them to efficiently prepare and write criminal search warrants. In 2024, Detective Kelleher authored 152 search warrants using this system, earning recognition as the second highest warrant author in California and the third highest in the entire nation. His ability to achieve such impressive numbers is a testament to his diligence, expertise, and commitment to addressing the needs of our community. What truly sets Detective Kelleher apart is his positive attitude and passion for law enforcement. He inspires his colleagues, encourages new officers, and fosters a collaborative environment within the department. Today, we celebrate Detective Kelleher for his outstanding contributions to the community and his exemplary service in law enforcement.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Detective Kelleher. All right, we will now move on to a presentation of a proclamation declaring March 2025 as March for Meals Month. And we'll have a over to Stephanie.
With our Highland Senior Center, as probably most of all of you know, Stephanie is the president of the board and Dwayne is the manager, right?
Yeah, no, you don't. You know how that works. Yeah. Anyway, I want to read this to you. March for Meals Month. Whereas on March 22nd, 1972, President Richard Nixon signed into law a measure that amended the Older Americans Act of 1965 and established a national nutrition program for seniors 60 years and older. Whereas the Meals on Wheels Association of America established the National March for Meals campaign in March 2002 to recognize the historic month, the importance of older Americans, act senior nutrition programs, and raise awareness about senior hunger in America. Whereas the 2025 observance of the March for Meals campaign provides an opportunity to support senior nutrition programs that deliver vital and critical services by donating, volunteering, and raising awareness about senior hunger. Whereas volunteer drivers for Meals on Wheels programs in Clearlake are the backbone of the program, and they not only deliver delicious, nutritious meals to homebound seniors and the individual with disabilities, but also caring, concern, and attention to their welfare. And whereas senior nutrition programs provide nutritious meals to seniors throughout the city and help them to avoid premature or unnecessary institutionalization. Whereas the senior nutrition program also provides a powerful socialization opportunity for millions of seniors to help combat loneliness and isolation. Whereas senior nutrition programs in Clearlake deserve recognition for the contributions they have made and will continue to make to our community. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Clearlake does hereby proclaim March 2025 as March for Meals Month and urges every citizen to take time this month to honor our senior nutrition programs, the seniors they serve, and the volunteers who care for them. Our recognition and involvement of the National 20
25 March for Meals campaign can enrich our entire community and help end senior hunger in America, so no senior goes hungry. Dated this 6th day of March 2025 and soon to be signed by me as mayor. I'll sign it in a minute.
Okay.
I'll have my.
You can sign it.
Thank you. You may, absolutely.
That's on.
Go ahead.
Sure. Thank you very much for the proclamation. I appreciate it. It's definitely something that our senior center strives for, to make sure that all seniors are fed in our community. Just so that you know, last month we fed 59 more than normal. 59 individuals that came in pretty much every day, you know, and just in this week, we added another 9 new members. So, you know, it's growing, which tells us that the need is there. You know, we served over 4,500 meals last month. It's rising and rising more and more every day. So it's important that we try to keep the senior center moving and functioning. Unfortunately, most of our seniors can't afford to pay. You know, it's a donation basis. We ask for $5. Can't get anything for $5 nowadays, right? So what we're hoping is that the community will back up and sponsor a senior. You know, for $1,850 a year, we'll feed a senior for a whole year. Isn't that amazing? That's most of our paychecks, right? You know, let's face it, that's really not that much money anymore. So, you know, we're just looking for community members to sponsor a senior or sponsor a week or sponsor even a meal. It's, you know, we take any donations, nothing's too small for us. So we hope that, you know, the community will step up and start helping us keep the senior center open. Because before the pandemic, we were getting ready to close. So the pandemic, bad or good, kind of saved us. But you know, as that money's went away, now we're kind of heading back towards the same situation, and I'm trying to hope it doesn't go that way. So I'm going to let my board president tell you about our next event that we're having.
We are having a hoedown at the senior center on the 29th of this month. It's a Saturday. We have a live band, lots of fun, good food, and it's per ticket, or you can get a table if you'd like, a table of 8. And it's just a very fun event, and it really, really helps our senior center. We really do need the help. And I can tell you personally, at some of our board meetings, we've heard about our Meals on Wheels. Some of these people that deliver the meals end up calling the ambulance or whatever because the person has fallen or they're passed out or whatever, or passed away. So it's really a very, very important thing. And if I can say, our dinner, or not dinner, but our lunches at the senior center are really very well attended. And it seems like we're seeing more and more new people, new people that have moved into the city or just didn't know about us. And so, and it's good, healthy food.
Right. So, and just so you guys, a lot of people still don't know that we exist, so please spread the word. Even though we have been open in this city since 1972, believe it or not, it's still, during the pandemic, we realized how many people didn't even know we existed. So, you know, we have lots of activities. So we're not just a center for food. There's lots of activities. We have exercise, different types of exercise classes. We have games people can play. We have bingo on Wednesdays just for the fun of it, you know. So Thursday morning judges breakfast, which is a community event, and everybody's welcome to come to that. So, you know, we serve a pretty good breakfast, right? Oh, the mayor. so you know, we invite you guys all to come and join that too. Mary comes. So thank you very much, Mary, for coming. So, you know, so just hopefully you guys will come to our event and support our senior center. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we'll now move on to public comment. This is a time for any member of the public to address the city council on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. The Brown Act, with limited exceptions, does not allow the council or staff to discuss issues brought forth under public comment. Council cannot take action on non-agenda items. Concerns may be referred to staff or placed on future agenda. Please note that comments from the public will also be taken on each item. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Is there anyone who wishes to speak here in the chamber? Yes, sir. Come on up and state your name and your residence. In 3 minutes, please.
Hi, my name is Ben Hiddle. I live in Lake County on Cobb, California. And as far as I know, my trash and most of the Lake County residents' trash goes into our landfill here. I'm keenly interested in it because I taught sustainable construction and solar at Mendocino College, and I teach robotics now. And I don't think it's anybody's fault that our trash situation has got out of hand. I don't think we had the ability to deal with it the same way we do now. And I'm trying to introduce a sortation process that uses robotics so we can really get to the nitty gritty and separate like 95% of our trash, which would be well above most any national average. And they'll get that on the recyclables, but I'm actually talking about the trash. So I'm kind of inspired to talk with you guys because you have the jurisdiction over the landfill to get some kind of a permission going or something happening where the county can increase its rents and the city be a direct beneficiary of more jobs. Right there where the landfill is, Mike Burns owns land on either side, and I've already talked to him about potentially using that land. He said I could talk with you guys about it, and if we could get some zoning there and get some things moved that direction, it would decrease our landfill, the trash that goes into it, and then hopefully increase our production of local materials like aluminum cans would all of a sudden be used rather than thrown away. A bunch of plastic and things like that as well. Thank you guys so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the chamber that would like to speak? Please come up to the microphone and state your name and where you live.
I'm James Hummel, and I live at 2980 Smith Lane, Clearlake, right up the road. I'm concerned about the brush fire hazard and what's being done for that. People that don't disc their places or take care of them. Most of us, we all take care of our properties. You know, I've got a couple acres, a little bit, and so do a lot of other people, but some people don't take care of them. And so when it comes to a hazard, what's being done to take care of that? And is there fines? Is there, you know, is code enforcement keeping track of this? Or, you know, to properties that don't take care of their, or persons that don't take care of their properties. Some people rent and they don't really care too much about the properties because they just rent it. The owners live who knows where and are not necessarily involved in upkeep and to mitigate. I'm just concerned about the mitigation of fire hazards, you know, so we don't have sweeping fires running through complete residential areas and burn everybody out and all that, you know, so that's my concern. If I can get any input from that, that would be great.
Mr. Hummel, I will give you one. Next Wednesday, there will be a town hall meeting right here at 6 o'clock for Fire Safe Council and Firewise Community Organization. I would encourage you to come to that meeting.
Okay.
Talk about a lot of those things that you just brought up.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
Mr. Mayor, would you like me to, I could address the code enforcement process a little bit.
That would be fine if you would. Mr. Hummel? Listen, you might listen to this too.
Okay,
You can
so,
sit down,
every year code enforcement takes action against, hundreds of properties in the city. But if you have a specific property that you're concerned about, the best thing to do is to report it specifically to code enforcement. You can do that on our website, by stopping here at the office and talking to code enforcement at the window or giving them a call, and making sure and report that. Notices of violation will be sent. If it's not corrected, we will do administrative citations until the property vegetation is resolved.
Okay, are there any other, yeah, come on up, sir. State your name and your residence, please.
Hi, my name's Ian Kirkendall. I live in Clearlake Oaks, California. Anyways, I wanted to piggyback on Mr. Ben's proclamation for the landfill. So Mr. Ben teaches at our son's school at LCICS in Middletown. And throughout this past year, he has told us his idea, and it's almost like it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's jumping with like almost excitement, but like this is like almost like new age stuff. So every time we get into conversations with people about renewable energies, and so anyway, Mr. Ben has came across, every time we come across, we're getting signatures of people trying to change the landfill, because the recycling and the trash is not being renewed. You know, even though they call it recycling, it's not really recycling. It's actually just going into the trash. So if we can come up with a system that can change the way landfills throughout the nation, we can get renewable energy. We can get new new building materials. This building's, hard to, it's cost. There's a lot of costs incentives in building. So if we can get renewable energy, especially here in Clearlake, since everything's, outside the, the county lines, basically, it's not only just going to, support Clearlake, but it'll support Lake County as well. Anyways, their signatures, and I don't know if you guys want to take them or make a copy, or Mr. Ben can give them to you. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I do want to remind the council and the public, the landfill is owned and operated by the county of Lake and is outside of the city boundary. It's not in the city's jurisdiction.
Thank you. Do you hear that, sir? You need to talk to the county about that plan. You can't comment now. All right, is there anyone else in the chambers that would like to speak? Okay, seeing none. Madam Clerk, is there anybody on Zoom?
There are no comments on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And we will now move on to the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be approved by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the council requests otherwise, or if staff has requested a change under adoption of the agenda, in which case item would be removed for separate consideration. There were no changes on that. Any item so removed will be taken up following the motion to approve the consent agenda. Mr. City Manager Flora, are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any member of the council want to remove an item? Okay, seeing none, I would accept a motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
You do need to open it up for public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Are there any public comments on the consent agenda in the chambers? Okay, now seeing none, I will bring it back for action.
I'll move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion has been made by Vice Mayor Slotin. Is there a second?
I second that.
Seconded by Councilwoman Member Downey.
You'll vote in your portal, please.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving right along. Okay, we're now going to be moving on to item 13, which is a public hearing for the CDBG contract 17-MIT TPS-21006 code enforcement grant closeout recommended action. Well, hold a public hearing to receive public comment. Are you going to be presenting before? Okay. Let Lieutenant Peterson may go ahead and present this.
Good evening. So tonight I'm here to provide an overview of the CBDG mitigation grant closeout and highlight the mitigation efforts we've undertaken. All right. So the CDBG mitigation program is designed to help communities recover from past disasters, build resilience, and mitigate future risks, particularly in low and moderate income areas. Clearlake received this funding as part of its recovery efforts following the sulfur fire of 2017, which caused widespread destruction and underscored the need for proactive fire mitigation. These funds were awarded to increase resilience to wildfire risk by improving compliance with vegetation management and land use regulations, reduce hazardous conditions that contribute to fire outbreaks, and prevent the conditions that led to past fire disasters, protecting residents and property in the long term. With this grant, we focused on enhancing code enforcement efforts to strengthen fire prevention measures across Clearlake. Through the 2017 CDBG mitigation grant, Clearlake was able to expand its code enforcement bureau. Funding from the grant, along with program income funds, allowed us to support 3 code enforcement officers and 1 code enforcement technician, increase enforcement of vegetation management regulation, and strengthen community resilience by ensuring properties met fire safety standards. Additionally, the city continues to fund 1 code enforcement officer using general funds. The grant allowed the city of Clearlake to take proactive action in mitigating wildfire risk by hiring and maintaining the 3 dedicated code enforcement officers, assigning the code enforcement technician to manage administrative and case tracking efforts, and strengthening vegetation enforcement efforts to ensure properties comply with fire safety regulation. These resources provided a structured approach to fire mitigation, allowing us to focus enforcement efforts in high-risk areas. So the primary goals of this grant was to support long-term recovery, resilience, and fire mitigation efforts by enforcing compliance with vegetation management and land use regulations, identifying and addressing public safety risks and increased wildfire potential, reducing hazardous conditions in high-risk areas. Another key enforcement priority was addressing illegal marijuana cultivation sites, which created significant fire and environmental hazards due to unpermitted electrical wiring and unsafe connections, increasing the risk of electrical fires, high heat lighting in densely vegetated areas, creating extreme fire hazards, and unregulated use of toxic chemicals leading to soil and groundwater contamination. It's important to clarify that all enforcement actions related to marijuana cultivation focus strictly on illegal operations that violated federal and local laws. To maximize impact, the city was divided into 3 enforcement areas. Area 1 and 2 were covered by the 3 CDBG funded code enforcement officers. Area 3 was served by 1 general fund supported code enforcement officer. This structure allowed us to target enforcement in fire prone areas, ensuring compliance with vegetation management and fire safety regulations. The program grant provided critical funding for personnel costs for the code enforcement officers and technician, operational expenses, including fuel, vehicle maintenance, and travel, vegetation enforcement, fire mitigation, ensuring compliance with fire safety laws, technology and administrative and administration enabling efficient case tracking and enforcement. These funds allow the city to expand its capacity to address fire risk proactively. In total, $500,000 in grant funding was allocated to fire mitigation code enforcement efforts. Additionally, program income funds supplemented these efforts, allowing for stronger enforcement of fire safety regulations, increased property compliance in high-risk areas, and a more resilient Clearlake better prepared to prevent future wildfires. Our enforcement efforts result in a significant increase in compliance cases, helping reduce hazardous conditions and prevent future fire risk. And the numbers you'll see up there for Sector 1 and Sector 2 were during the period of this grant. So targeted enforcement in fire-prone areas led to more vegetation abatement cases, increased property compliance citations, enforcement actions against illegal marijuana cultivation sites that contributed to fire risk. By enforcing existing laws and ordinances, these efforts significantly reduced fire hazards and improved community safety. To ensure compliance, officers issued numerous administrative and parking citations, many addressing overgrown vegetation that posed fire risks, unsafe structures violating fire codes, illegal dumping, which increased wildfire potential, along with vehicle parking citations for vehicles that would cause fire hazards as well. Code enforcement officers played a critical role in identifying hazardous conditions that required mitigation. It is important to note that while enforcement actions were funded by CDBG MIT, or the mitigation program, cleanup and abatement were not. These efforts were covered by property owners or other funding sources. However, as a result of stronger enforcement, we saw increased vegetation management efforts by property owners, the removal of hazardous debris and structures using non-CDBG funding, and greater community awareness and participation in fire prevention. The Code Enforcement Bureau went beyond traditional enforcement by cleaning up illegal dumping sites that contributed to fire risk, educating property owners on fire prevention and compliance, and ensuring fire mitigation efforts were prioritized in enforcement cases. Through strategic enforcement, we identify and address several fire hazards, including vegetation overgrowth and unmaintained properties, illegal dumping sites contributed to fire risk, and unpermitted electrical setups and hazardous conditions at illegal marijuana sites. While enforcement actions were funded by CDBG MIT, the actual cleanup and abatement were funded through separate sources. For vehicle abatement, abandoned and inoperable vehicles create fire hazards and contribute to blight. Officers removed burned out and abandoned vehicles that pose fire risks, illegal stored RVs, trailers, and preventing unsafe encampments. Again, while enforcement actions were funded by the program, the actual abatement was funded through separate sources. Public education was a key part of this effort. Officers engaged with residents to promote fire safety awareness, including educating property owners on vegetation enforcement, encouraging proactive fire mitigation measures, and ensuring compliance through outreach and enforcement. The success of this fire mitigation program was made possible through partnerships between the City of Clearlake, community stakeholders and property owners, local organizations working towards fire safety. By working together, we reduced fire risks, improved compliance, and built a more resilient Clearlake. In closing, the program grant allowed Clearlake to take proactive steps in fire mitigation, protecting homes, businesses, and lives. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lieutenant Peterson, for this great presentation. Are there any questions of Lieutenant Peterson by the council? Anybody? Thank you. Are there any questions of council of any other staff? Okay, time for public comment on this item. Please come up and state your full name and residence.
Hi, my name's Margaret Garcia. I live in the city of Clearlake. And you put a map up in that presentation on the areas, the 3 areas. And I'm just wanting to know if you could give me a better idea of what areas those were and how many code enforcement officers were at each. And is this funding already done or it's going to be funded is what I'm curious about.
Lieutenant Peterson will answer that.
So as the map showed, the zone 1 was east of Old Highway, or excuse me, State Route 53. So zone 1 was east of Highway 53, the avenues.
Okay.
Zone 2 is what we call the triangle, the area of Olympic, everything west.
Mhm.
And then zone 3 is Clearlake Park area, generally. Zone 1 and 2 were funded the 3 code enforcement officers and the technician. Zone 3 was just the 1 code enforcement officer.
And zone 1 is included in there?
Zone 1 was the east side of the highway. And yes, this is the closeout for these funds have been expended.
Okay, and are there funds coming up for the? next-
Always funds coming up.
All right, thank you.
Thank you again, Lieutenant Peterson. Madam Clerk, are there any other questions in the chamber? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, are there any questions on Zoom?
There are no comments on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now we'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
A second?
I'll second it.
Please vote in your motion made by Vice Mayor Slotin and seconded by Council Member Wilson. You'll vote in your portal.
Second, close, vote to close the public comment. Before we close.
Yeah, we have to vote on the motion.
I want to amend the motion to approve resolution 2025-06, a resolution of the city council of the city of Clearlake accepting the completion of the code enforcement program in the state of California CDBG MIT-PPS initiative and authorizing the close of the program in the state contract number 17-MIT-PPS 21006.
I second that.
Motion's been made by Vice Mayor Slotin and seconded by Council Member Wilson. Again, vote in your portal.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, we'll move on now to item 14. Hang on a minute. Which is another public hearing, authorization to close out CV-1 CDBG funding for the senior center. Are you going to be presenting that, City Manager?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I would like to point out that, well, a lot of staff worked on this much more than I did. Our management analyst, Bambi Klein, is the primary one closing this out. But to give an overview as required by the CBG program for the closeout of this grant, in 2021, the city of Clear Lake applied for $122,279 in funding for improvements to the Highland Senior Center. The purpose of the request for funding under the CARES Act, which was put into place as a response to COVID, to increase the food storage in our refrigeration and freezers, giving staff the ability to obtain more food from donations to meet the increased demand during the pandemic, and any future situations where increased storage and distribution would be of benefit. At the time of application, seniors were not able to pick up their meals or dine together due to restrictions and safety protocols. The kitchen remodel allowed Highland Senior Center staff and Meals on Wheels the ability to prepare, store, and distribute more meals as the need required. The city was able to improve access to service and benefit 1,000 seniors during the term of the award, May 2021 through October 2024, and is better equipped to handle any increased need in the future due to unexpected events. I would point out that there was additional funding that went into this. It was significantly more than just the $122,000 as part of this program. The final thing that we're required to publicly present is some demographic information about the 1,000 seniors that were impacted. One thing that we need to go over is the race of those seniors, which we have white alone being 59.1%, black alone 3.9%, American Indian and Alaska Native alone 3%, Asia alone 1.1%. Two or more races, 15.7%, Hispanic or Latino, 31%, white alone, not Hispanic or Latino, 55%. I'm sure you all remember that. The income information, 500 of the 1,000 were in the extremely low category and 500 in the low category, with again, a total of 1,000 seniors assisted. So that's the presentation that we're required to give. I'll be happy to address any questions you may have.
Thank you, City Manager Flora. Are there any questions from council? None? None? We'll now open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to comment on this item? Come on up to the microphone, state your name and your residence.
Margaret Garcia, City of Clearlake. I'm just curious where the statistics come from exactly, or if those are collected from where?
City Manager, can you answer that?
Well, the number of seniors that were served, those numbers are provided by Highland Senior Center. The other information is provided by the U.S. Census Bureau.
Thank you, City Manager. Are there any other questions in the chamber or comments? Okay. Madam Clerk, are there any comments submitted on Zoom?
There are no comments on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, now I'll take a motion or, well, are there any comments from council for deliberation on this item? No. Seeing none, now I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
I move to close out of 20-CDBG-CV1-00184 Senior Community Center Kitchen Remodel.
Okay, that's to close the public hearing. Motion has been made by Council Member Downing. Second by someone?
Second it.
Seconded by,
second it.
seconded by Vice Mayor Slotin. Vote on your portal. Okay. Now I'll take a motion on the item itself.
That motion was already made.
Well, it was made, that was to close the public hearing, but we can make that both. Okay. Now we'll move
Mr.
on.
Mayor, I'm not registering a vote from Councilmember Wilson. Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Thank you. All right. We'll now move on to regular business items. The first one will be a discussion and possible direction regarding street lighting in the city. Are you presenting that, City Manager?
Mr. Mayor, council members, I'll give a brief introduction and then like to introduce consultant that we've been working with on this. So as with a number of infrastructure issues in the city that weren't really done correctly the first time, street lighting is one of those issues. There's a number of deficiencies, and we ultimately decided to bring on a consultant to help analyze street lighting in the city and make some recommendations to us. So I think with that, I will introduce Mr. Neil Tully from Tanco Lighting, who is going to share a presentation. Hopefully you've all had a chance to review the feasibility report in the packet. He'll give an overview of that, and then we'll go into some discussion from there.
Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager Flora. I hope you all can hear me and please let me know if you cannot. I'd like to just share my
Hold on one
screen.
moment, Neil. We can't hear you.
Oh, perfect.
You try again, please.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. Let me share my screen here. And good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, staff, and residents. Thank you, City Manager Flora, for having me. My name is Neil Tully, and I am a Senior Energy Advisor for Tenco Lighting, a municipal street lighting consultant. We were contracted by the City of Clearlake to run a street light study to take a deeper dive on your lighting system, looking at your bills, rates, and various options moving forward. I'm excited to be here and to share our results here with you this evening. A little background on us. As I mentioned, Tenco Lighting is a sole focus municipal street lighting consultant. All we do is work with municipalities on their lighting systems. To date, we've had over 927,000 streetlights in contract. We've helped our municipal clients acquire over 500,000 fixtures from their utilities. We've maintained over 73,000 fixtures ourselves and have now completed over 260 projects nationally. Street lighting is a critical piece of public safety infrastructure, helping your residents travel safely along your corridors at night, aiding both vehicular and pedestrian traffic. It's a critical service, really, for safe, navigable neighborhoods and transportation networks. It encourages continued economic investment along commercial corridors and aids in community development. Now, most streetlight systems are owned by the utility companies, which oftentimes is accompanied by high costs, limited control, and slow response times. Generally speaking, the public perception is that the city owns the lights, which is why residents call into the city to report outages. The expectation is that the city should manage the lighting system effectively, even though the city may not own the assets. However, many municipalities do in fact own their lighting systems. They do a great job managing them, and we're seeing this becoming more of a trend, especially as utility costs continue to escalate. The city actually almost purchased the system from PG&E back in 1999. There was a purchase and sale agreement with PG&E. It had PUC approval. We're just not sure why the city did not end up moving forward with it. Now, currently, the city has 262 fixtures owned by PG&E, of which 69% have been converted to light-emitting diodes or LED, in addition to 13 city-owned fixtures. The city is paying a lot, $9 to $10 per fixture per month on average, and probably not receiving much in the way of service. One of the main takeaways we had when we began reviewing the bill is that we felt the city might be extremely underlit. This may sound odd, but given what we know about California cities, population levels, and streetlights, we typically see an average resident to streetlight ratio of 15 to 1. Clearlake is actually closer to about 60 to 1. And the city manager and public works director also told us the same thing. The city is dark at night. Now, we're big into public safety here at Tenco, right? I mean, that's what streetlights are for, is aiding your residents at night. And we think that 275 fixtures may not cover all the intersections, crosswalks, schools, and high traffic areas of the community. It could even potentially have a negative impact on nighttime commerce and tourism. Now, this might be by design. I completely understand not wanting to increase light pollution in the city, especially along this beautiful lake. However, there is a way to correctly implement lighting solutions that will minimize any light pollution. Lower wattages of LED fixtures that are focused and directed down into the right-of-way and road, not shining in people's homes, not blasting light out and up. Our solution for Clearlake is to consider adding streetlights, prioritizing public safety locations. I don't necessarily mean adding a fixture at every pole, but as I mentioned, prioritizing areas such as crosswalks, intersections, schools, shopping districts, and nightlife areas. Tenko Lighting can put together a lighting layout, provide cost estimates, and work with PG&E on the best implementation solution for the city. We see a few options here when we looked at this study. We think the city could potentially need as many as 700 additional fixtures, which we can use as a ceiling here for our discussion this evening. It could be less depending on how we prioritize those areas with the city, but let's go with 700 for today. We could see PG&E installing the fixtures at these designated locations, and at that point, the city could consider if you wanted to acquire the system. Or there's potential for a city-sponsored installation where the city would own the lighting fixtures as soon as they're installed. Now, in addition, if you were to consider acquiring the current lighting system, it would help stretch your lighting investment further by reducing your current costs. So currently, the city is spending about $43,000 in annual lighting costs. If the city were to add 700 fixtures under PG&E ownership, that number would increase by about $88,000 for a new total operating cost of about $131,000. However, if the city owned the additional 700 fixtures, we would see the city annual costs increase by $47,000. So if the city owned the existing 275 fixtures, 75 fixtures, excuse me, as well as the additional 700 fixtures, total operating costs would be approximately $65,000 annually, which means there's a potential here for the city to only increase their annual costs by 51%, but increase the amount of fixtures by 254%, as I said, stretching your lighting investment further. This is an example of the economics behind the savings. The city currently falls under the company-owned LS1 streetlight rate, which I actually believe just went up this month. I'm sure Alan will be, Mr. Flora will be thrilled to learn. As an example, I used the most common type of fixture in the city, the 30-watt LED for an example here. So the city, as of this month, is now paying about $10.47 for a 30-watt LED fixture per month. So if the city were to acquire the lighting system, moving to the city-owned LS2 rate, the city would save about 50% of the lighting costs of this specific fixture type. To summarize, there are several reasons the city would want to own the lighting system: to reduce their current lighting costs, to open up smart city capabilities, to improve the nighttime public safety, and to improve your service levels without needing to necessarily spend money on capital equipment and hiring additional staff. So next steps, we recommend the city first proceed with a lighting audit and bill reconciliation to get a better understanding of where the current assets are located, what kind of condition they're in, and reconcile any differences we may find in the billing inventory. This audit would also come with a lighting inventory and GIS overlay for city records. We then recommend using that data to put together a lighting deficiency analysis, working with the city to prioritize certain public safety criteria of where to add new fixtures. Once we've concluded both of those items, I think it would be time to discuss at that point what path forward the city would like to pursue and perhaps even develop a solution with PG&E. That's all I have for this evening. Again, I appreciate letting me come on and speak more about this. I don't know if we were going to do questions, but I'd be happy to answer a few or even answer some at a later time as well. Thank you.
Council, do you have any? I do. I do. Vice Mayor, so the streetlights, will there be compliance with the dark night ordinance? We're getting an echo here. Did you?
Yeah, I think you referenced that, Mr. Vice Mayor. I mean, It would depend on what type of lighting we wanted to install, but there are lighting options that would be compliant, yes.
But we do have a dark night ordinance. Also obviously a lot of the lights need to be on existing power poles. How is that gonna work? Are we owning the pole or just the light?
Yes, sir. Good question. You would just be owning the fixture. The poles would remain with the utility, the wooden
Neil, hang on, we
distribution
can't
poles.
hear you.
Hmm.
Now you,
Yes, sir. It's a good question. The existing poles would remain with the utility. We don't encourage our clients to get into the electrical business, so you would really only be acquiring the fixture and the arm off of the pole. You wouldn't be acquiring the wooden distribution poles unless it's a sole purpose street lighting pole. But I believe most of your fixtures are on the wooden distribution poles, in which case you would only be acquiring said light fixture.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Questions? Other questions of council? You seeing none? Do you have a question?
I don't know if it's really a question, but just an idea of like, I know a lot of rural areas like us, we're moving towards more of like underground wiring for electricity. Like how would that work if we were to move in that direction in some areas of the city and we don't have poles?
I think a lot
I think
of
there's a number of solutions we may need to look at. I mean, undergrounding there's not too many areas of the city that have been underground. Lakeshore Drive is one of them. It's quite costly, to do that. I think we haven't talked to Mr. Tully about this or Tanco, but there's better and better solar options that are out there now as well. So I think that's something that should be researched if the council is interested in looking.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from council? I'll open it for public comment. Are there any public comments? Come on up, Mrs. Garcia, and state your name and your residence.
Greg Garcia, City of Clearlake. I'm just wondering, acquiring the lighting sounds like a good idea. Is there any repair costs or that type of thing that might come into play by owning the equipment?
City Manager Flora, can you handle that one?
Yes, there would be maintenance costs, but I mean, with LED fixtures, they last a long time. We have the staff, the boom truck, the equipment to already handle that.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from the public? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, are there any comments on Zoom?
There are no comments on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, at this time, this does not require a vote. What we're looking for, I guess, is consensus of whether to go forward with the recommendations that were on the screen. Everybody want to go forward?
I'm in favor of looking at this very seriously.
Councilmember Downey,
I'm in favor of looking into this.
Councilmember Wilson.
I'm in favor, but I'd like to add looking at the solar as well. Make sure that we do that. I'm also in favor.
Okay, I think you have your marching orders.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All right.
Mr. Tully.
And thank you,
Yes,
council.
thank you, Mr. Natale.
Yes, thank you all.
Okay, now we move on to consideration of appointments to the Planning Commission. And we'll begin, first be interviewing the applicants and appoint 2 planning commissioners and reappoint Chair Fawn Williams to terms of office ending in March 2029. Mr. Flora, will you escort? Go ahead.
I'd like to have Administrative Services Director Swanson provide a brief overview of this, if that's okay.
That would be good.
Honorable Mayor and council members, your council is being asked to hold interviews of applicants and by motion, appoint 2 planning commissioners for the term ending March 2029 and reappoint Chair Williams to a new term. Planning Commission Chair Fawn Williams and Planning Commissioners Terry Stewart and Robert Cokers terms expire on March 11th, 2025. Commissioner Stewart has indicated that he will not be renewing his term on the Planning Commission. Additionally, according to the City Council norms and procedures, if a Planning Commission has served only one term and wishes to serve a second term, that commissioner may submit a letter of interest no later than 30 days before the end of their term for consideration of reappointment. Staff received notice from Chair Williams on Monday, January 27th, of her interest in being reappointed. Chair Williams is currently at the Cal Cities Planning Commission Academy in Santa Rosa, along with Commissioner Inglis. Staff received 4 applications from incumbent Robert Coker, Derek Counts, Carlos Ramos, and Ray Silva. The applications are attached to the staff report. It is staff's recommendation to interview all applicants. Your council would then appoint by motion and majority vote. There are interview questions at your dais. Each applicant will be escorted out of the room to await their turn to be interviewed one by one. At the conclusion of the interviews, council should rank the applicants 1 to 4, with 1 being the most qualified and 4 being the least. Staff will tally the ranking and announce the results. At that point, staff recommends your council appoint 2 applicants to the Planning Commission and reappoint Chair Williams by resolution. And that's my staff report.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now, could you escort everyone with the exception, I guess, of Mr. Coker? And we'll start off, I'll ask the first question. And then let's.
Want me to start or I'll go after?
I will ask the first question, then we'll go to you and then
Mary.
you, and you, okay? You're number 4, so. So yeah, so I'm 1 and. So I will have 1 and 6. All right, I'm going to start out with the first question. First, give us your name and a little bit about yourself.
My name's Robert Coker. I've been a citizen here in Clearlake for 25 years.
Okay.
My wife and I own Tatonka Trading. I volunteer at the Redwood Empire Food Bank on Mondays.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Coker. And I'm going to ask this question. Tell us about your qualifications and why you would be a good choice for planning commissioner. What skills, qualities, experience, or education do you possess that would allow you to hit the ground running if you're appointed?
If I'm reappointed, I've been on the planning commission for quite a few years now. I've learned a lot. I truly enjoy it.
Okay. Question number 2.
All right, I'll ask you the next question. A planning commissioner's primary responsibility is to make land use decisions that are consistent with the policies and plans formally adopted by the city council. Do you know what documents guide the policies and plans of the city?
Yes. We've done a number of projects.
Number 3, what do you know about the current projects of the city?
Well, let's see. I know they've been doing a lot of paving. They've trying to get the sports complex going. The hotels, airport property, the piece of property across from Knott's Liquors. Can't think of anything else. I know there's more.
Okay.
You have a defined idea about, or have you taken a public stance on any current project in this?
I took a stand on them.
Yeah.
No, we voted on all of them. Do not, all I realize is I know that the sports complex has got to get done. We need that for the kids badly.
Okay. Back to me. Some staff reports and documentation for planning commission agendas can be several hundred pages long, as you know.
Yes.
What would you do to thoroughly prepare and review the planning commission documents before the meeting, or what do you do?
And do I do as number one, I wish we can get them sooner because you, like you said, there are a ton of papers to read, but we don't. So, I sit down and read them.
All right, are you able to attend evening meetings on the first and third Tuesdays? And can you be available during the day on occasion to serve on any ad hoc committees?
Yes.
What would you do as a planning commissioner if you were unsure of how to vote on a particular issue? And how would you handle a decision that you did not agree with?
I'd ask it to be continued, number one, and if I didn't agree with it and everybody else did, well, that's too bad for me.
If you were asked to sit on a city council ad hoc committee or subcommittee, such as homeless issues, commercial cannabis ad hoc, what would you do to prepare yourself for that assignment?
It all depends on if I would be available for the ad hoc, because I think most of them are during the day. But just read.
Thank you.
What is your vision for, or vision of the future?
Growth.
Thank you.
Any.
Thanks, Robert.
All right.
Where am I going?
No.
Mr. Counts is next. Mr. Counts.
There's 4 there.
Mhm.
We'll find that out, yeah. Good evening. Could you just give us your name and tell us a little bit, just briefly, a little bit about yourself?
Okay. My name is Derek Counts. I live here in Clearlake, in the Avenues. I've been here about 20 years, this year. I moved here from Las Vegas, Nevada. A little bit history about myself is I graduated from Lower Lake High School in 2009. I was quick to move away from here, but I wanted to go to school, and I found out that the city of Clearlake had offered some programs at Woodland College. I attended Woodland College to get a degree in radiology. I became a radiology technologist in 2021. Yeah, 2021. I did all my schooling here based off of opportunities that the community provided me. And so in turn, I want to be a part of the change here. Grew up in a lot of different places, and this is the one place that actually saw the potential in me and gave me opportunity to achieve that potential.
Well, that's great. I'm glad you're doing that, staying here and helping out. Here's your first question.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about your qualifications and why you would be a good choice for planning commissioner. What skills, qualities, experience, or education do you possess that would allow you to hit the ground running if you are appointed?
To be honest with you, I don't have any qualifications for this particular job. What I do have is I want to say a skill set of, I have Sorry, I'm a little nervous, but I have a skill set.
So was I when I was up there.
I have a skill set that's kind of like a motto or a belief that I do. Every day is an opportunity to learn and grow from the day before. And so I take that every day that I wake up, I try to learn from the previous day. That's how you grow. That's how you make change. And having that kind of belief is what I want to bring upon the city of Clearlake. I've seen the potential here. I have many friends and family. I've come across people that seen the potential in me and the change that allow me to reach the point that I have. So that skill set and that belief allows me to come into anything that I do and give 110% because I don't know everything. So that makes me want to learn more. And having that kind of open mind will allow me to best suit the city of Clearlake itself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have 9 more questions.
Oh, here we go.
I know, I'm next.
And the
Okay.
next one,
A
Councilmember
planning
Hood.
commissioner's primary responsibility is to make land use decisions that are consistent with the policies and plans formally adopted by the city council. Do you know what documents guide the policies and plans for the city?
So I believe some of the documents that the city uses is the general plan, which is a highly detailed plan basically of how the city should have the land use. So like the commercial properties, where they should be placed, where housing should be placed, things like that. So using that as a resource that would allow me to best suit my job, be able to do my job to the best of my ability, is using that as a resource. There's also, I believe, like an ordinance guideline that you can follow that lays out how commercial properties need to be regulated and used and what their best use could also be.
Okay.
No, number 3 is, what do you know about the current projects of the city?
So the current projects that I do know about is the sport complex that has I know you guys have been working hard to try to get that going. I think that is one of the best things that could be done for this community and for the county itself. It's just not a city of Clearlake. That will be bringing a lot of attention to the city of Clearlake. The next is, I know that you guys were working with Venice Health to use the property that is known as the airport to, bring more opportunities to the city and also create a better healthcare upgrade for Venice Health in our community. Let's see. I'm drawing a blank right now because of nerves. I believe there's a project for Redbud. Actually, yeah, there's a project for the park area of Redbud right now to be converted over to a hotel to provide not housing, but to provide better opportunity for fishermen and the tournaments, because we struggle with housing in this area, especially. I've met people that come up and have asked, I used to work at Walmart, and people ask, hey, where is there to stay? We're out of town, and things book up very quick at El Grande and Travel Lodge, so.
Hey, do you have a defined idea about, or have you taken a public stance on any current project in the city?
I haven't taken a actual public stance on anything, or I take that back. Can I ask for clarification of the question? So
of the projects that you know in town, have you made a comment on which one you like or don't like? Or?
Oh yeah, I half the projects that I'm aware of, or the ones that I am aware of, I'm all for. To bring change to the city of Clearlake is what we need. For the longest time, it was kind of seemed stagnant, and that no one wanted to bring change. So I'm pro the sport complex. I'm pro the providing more housing and more attraction to the city of Clearlake.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Are there other planning projects or issues that you have concerns about or that you feel that are important planning issues facing Clearlake?
No, ma'am, there's nothing that I'm aware of that I have any concerns about. That is simple. I don't know if this counts, but the previous presentation about the streetlights. Oh, you want to talk? Sorry, it's gonna make me emotional. I used to work with a gentleman, and his name was James, and he worked at Walmart. Due to not having streetlights, he lost his life walking home. He walked home every day. He was a good man. So seeing that, I pro that. I want that for this city so nobody else has to lose a friend or a family member. So there you are.
Thank you.
Okay. Very understandable that you were emotional about that, by the way. Okay, next question. Some staff reports and documentation for the planning commission agendas can be several hundred pages long.
Yes, sir.
What would you do to thoroughly prepare and review the planning commission documents before the meeting?
Sorry, 1 second. Can you repeat the question for me, please?
Some staff reports and documentation for the planning commission agendas can be several hundred pages long. What would you do to thoroughly prepare and review the planning commission documents before the meeting?
That's a good question. I don't have experience in doing something like that, but what I can say is I would find a way to make sure that I cover every bit of that detail. If that means that I have to read word for word, 700 pages, it's not like I haven't read a book before. I went to college. I've run many papers, so it's possible. So that's what I would do to start out. Now, I'm also open to suggestions because I don't know what the best process is. And I imagine people before me have had the same question, have gone through the same interaction. And so there has to be a plan or a layout or a best suggestion. So I'm open to those also. But if I had to start, I read word for word.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Are you able to attend evening meetings on the first and third Tuesdays? Can you be available during the day on occasion to serve on ad hoc committees?
Yes, I can.
What would you do as a planning commissioner if you were unsure of how to vote in a particular issue? And how would you handle a decision that you did not agree with?
So what I would do if I wasn't sure how to vote, I would ask for help. And when I say help, I mean opinions. Because just because I have a belief on something doesn't mean that my mind can't be changed, especially if I don't know all the information. So I would ask for help. I would ask people that had been there in a similar situation and what would they do? And I would take it in consideration. And then may I ask what the second portion of that question was, please?
How would you handle?
Yeah, how would you handle the decision that you did not agree with?
You respect the decision and you follow what is laid in front of you. I work in a hospital that has policies and procedures that I necessarily don't always agree with, but it's there. Those decisions were made, and we have to follow them. We have to respect them, and that's what I would do. And that's what I do currently.
Okay. If you were asked to sit on a city council ad hoc subcommittee such as homeless issues or commercial cannabis ad hocs, what would you do to prepare yourself for that assignment?
I would thoroughly investigate the information that is going to be presented at that, so I'm not coming in unprepared. And then I would come in with an open mind and an open ear to listen to what has to be said at that meeting. And then we would go from there with whatever's to follow.
Thank you.
So us being here, we all kind of know Clear Lake is the stepchild of Lake County, you know, and I don't see that. And so my vision for the city of Clear Lake is to change the reputation, change the image of Clear Lake, and show people how wonderful and how beautiful the city is itself, and how much opportunity that it has, just like any other location in this county.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's good.
Thank you, guys.
You can,
Thank you.
you can take a seat here in the chamber if you'd like. Or not.
Mr. Ramos is next.
Pardon me?
Mr. Ramos is next.
Is he here?
Yeah, he's good.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, basically, my name is Carlos Ramos. I am a citizen of Clear Lake. I have 24 years old. I am 24 years old, and I'm currently the owner of Ramos Development. I am trying to renovate Clear Lake one house at a time. I seek opportunities in the real estate market to find beaten up houses and then acquire them and try to put some hard work into them and put them into the market to bring quality of life to the residents. My motivation is because I see that people is having hard time to afford a rent or even to buy a house. So as a citizen, I see that there's a lot of potential with this city. For me, I grew up here, I live here, and even though I want to add that I commute to Sacramento daily because I am majoring in construction management, and I want to establish my future over here. My dream is to be a developer, but of course I want to also help the residents over here because I want to be motivated to live in Clear Lake and to have opportunities for not only the young people, but as well for the people that are already here. I want people to be happy with the city that they have because I have heard a lot of times that people complain about the city, that oh, Clear Lake is this or Clear Lake is that. But my thinking is that what are we doing as citizens to change that? Because most of the people that say that, we could see at their yards and it's like, man, like, why are you saying that? Where's the change? And I would like to be the change.
Okay.
Again, I am young, but I like to learn, and I would like to put my best effort in order to accomplish.
Well, we have 10 questions here to ask you to give us some idea of what you know about what a planning commissioner is and what's expected. So I'm going to start off with the first one.
Yeah.
Hey, tell us about your qualifications and why you would be a good choice for planning commissioner. What skills, qualities, experience, or education do you possess that would allow you to hit the ground running if you are appointed? You kind of hit on some of those when
Yeah.
you.
Again, well, I have about, say, 10 years of experience working along with my dad, doing the trades here on Clear Lake. And we've also have a portfolio of properties, and I've seen the transformation from acquiring them and renovating them. And I've seen that when you renovate a house, it's not only about renovating a house, the street like improves, and that makes a difference on the city. And I think that's it will be one point to answer this question. And another one is that since 2023, I've been doing this on my own, trying to not renting them out right now, just to put them on the market for the people or invite people from other places to come to Clearlake. And I want, that's my goal. I want to, for Clearlake to be like the spotlight and people to think, hey, here is Clearlake. I want to go there. And third, I chose to major in construction management because that's my dream. I want to improve the way that people live, and I would like to apply it here in Clearlake. And I recently was ranked third place in the NorCal area. I participated representing the Sacramento State University on the ASC design build competition. So that's another.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Newton will ask the next question.
Could you repeat the question again, please?
Do you know what document?
I do not.
What do you know about the current projects of the city?
Well, it's exciting about this because I see that there's a lot of people coming into the city. And when I hear about the exciting projects about the airport redevelopment or the sport complex here on behind Safeway, for me, it's exciting because it's like, well, it's not just going to serve us, but it's also going to motivate people to come over here and grow their families and have a thriving community. I've also heard that the main street is going to be renovated or at least have a beautification process. And I've seen the work here on the park. Like, thank you for putting your effort on the park. And I've also been I've been part of the renovation or upgrade of the park with Rotary. I helped on installing the fitness equipment. I was there with you, Mr. Slidden, and I'm really happy about all the upgrades that have been going into the city.
Do you have we talked earlier about what projects.
Yeah.
So have you a defined idea, and have you taken a public stance on any of these current projects?
Again, could you repeat it, please?
The previous question was about current projects in the city.
Yeah.
Have you had any defined idea, or have you taken a stance on any of these current projects? In other words, are you a proponent or are you against?
No, I'm definitely happy with all of these ideas because I think they are serving a purpose for the city.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I want to add, sorry. I want to add that it is super exciting because this gives like a lot of job opportunities for people.
Okay, are there other planning projects or issues that you have concerns about or that you feel that are important planning issues facing Clearlake?
Yeah. I am, as a citizen, I am concerned about the road infrastructure. I see that our road infrastructure is failing. I've heard of people that I know that their cars have been damaged due to holes on the roads, and also people complaining about that they don't feel safe to just go outside their homes and walk their dogs because there's not like a nice or good road infrastructure, and yeah, that's one of the concerns that I have.
All right, some staff reports and documentation for planning commission agendas can be several hundred pages long. What would you do to thoroughly prepare and review the what would you do to thoroughly prepare and review the planning commission document before the meetings?
Well, of course, dedicate some time to reading the documents. I think I have a lot of patience, and I think I have developed a skill to read plans. I know that it may be, well, construction plans. It might be different from the kind of documents that are being that are for the planning commission, but I think I have the skill and the patience to go over them and the commitment to put some hours in order to read them.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I am.
What would you do as a planning commissioner if you were unsure of how to vote on a particular issue? And how would you handle a decision that you did not agree with?
If I weren't sure about a decision, I think I would reach out to my peers in order to get some guidance because of, again, I don't have a lot of experience on anything regarding city planning, so I would definitely reach out to my peers in order to get like more feedback, in order to have like a precise precise thought about what my decision would be. And if I were to um if I were to negate one of the decisions, I would definitely discuss why am I doing that.
I think he did, but let's ask it again. How would you handle a decision that you didn't agree with?
Yeah, if I didn't agree with one decision, I would discuss and explain why I didn't agree with the decision. Because I think everyone should know why, and I think that would help me as well on how to, well, again, I'm sorry. I would like to, if I were in that position, I would just explain why I did it in order to get feedback and try to improve my next decisions.
If you were asked to sit on a city council ad hoc or subcommittees such as homeless issues or commercial cannabis ad hocs, what would you do to prepare yourself for that assignment?
I would prepare thoroughly about the matter. Again, I would seek guidance from my peers and do thoroughly research in order to have a concrete position about it.
All right, last question. What is your vision of the future of Clearlake?
I see Clearlake as a nice city in the future. Like I see Clearlake in 10 years being a home of a thriving community, about being a home of proud citizens that feel safe on their city and are happy with their city as well.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. Okay. Evening, Mr. Silva. Would you introduce yourself and tell us where you live? And tell us a little about yourself.
Okay. My name is Ray Silva. I live in Highlands Harbor and been a general contractor, A and B, for over 40 years. Worked on hundreds of projects in the county and in the city, and I'm interested in becoming a member of the Planning Commission.
Thank you. Now I've got your first, there's 10 questions for you and I'll
10?
start 10 of them, yeah. I'll start with the first one.
Tell us about your qualification. You've done a little of this in your opening statement, but tell us a little about your qualifications and why you would be a good choice for planning commissioner. What skills, qualities, experience, or education do you possess that would allow you to hit the ground running if you are appointed? I think being a 50-year member of the community is an asset. Being in the construction field for all those years, I've got a lot of background in the local infrastructure. In fact, I first came here, I was working on one of the sewer projects that were going in town. My contracting experience and knowledge has taught me to do plot plan submittals, draw sets of plans. Like I said, I've worked with the planning departments for a long time. Not so much lately. I'm slowing down quite a bit. I think that one of the qualifications that I would have that would be an asset to me is I'm willing, particularly on land and development issues, I'm willing to listen and see what people have to say and consider what they're saying and listen to other points of view. I'll end this part of it by saying that most importantly is I love this community. We've been here a long time and I want to see it thrive. I want to see it be better. And I want to be involved in that. Thank you. Next question will be from Councilmember Hooton.
Okay. Planning commissioner's primary responsibility is to make land use decisions that are consistent with the policies and plans formally adopted by the city council. Do you know what documents guide the policies and plans of the city?
The biggest document is the general plan. But existing codes and regulations are going to come into play. My understanding on the general plan, and this may be something I learn as I go along, is that the general plan, basically the state provides an outline and mandates a lot of things that are going to govern how the general plan is created. That's something I'm going to learn down the road, but most things we're going to want to conform to the general plan. That's what we'll be looking for.
What do you know about the current projects of the city?
I try to keep up to date on projects, even though I'm not doing them anymore. I am aware of quite a bit that's going on. I know that there's a proposed subdivision in the Burns Valley area. When you say what projects you mean that are going on in the city or the city is doing themselves?
The question is, what do you know about the current projects of the city?
Of the city. Okay. Well, I guess I'll cover both ends then. I think the biggest project the city's doing is the rehabilitation of the roads. I think that the Measure V, which I've been involved with on the oversight committee, it's a monumental undertaking, and while I'm at it, I'll compliment the city and staff for doing such a good job. I think that's a big undertaking that's going to make the city better. Besides that, projects that are going on within the city, I'll say that there is a subdivision going on in Burns Valley that's going to go on. There's also a moderate income housing project proposed up by the hospital. The new sports complex over by Safeway behind there is a fantastic thing. I can't wait for that to get going. I know that the old Mario's Lodge goes back a long ways. I've been here that long. I know that there's I believe it's a service station going in there with a mini market. There's also a proposed development at Four Corners. I actually was looking at the plans of that today. That was on one of the meetings that I reviewed, and I guess it's getting close to being ready to go. I don't know for sure what's going to happen with the ball fields at Redbud Park. I am curious to find out. I understand that there's a possibility for a hotel there. So if these are the projects that you're speaking of, that's what I know. You're welcome.
Nothing closer to you.
Pardon me?
Nothing closer to you.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
have,
oh, wait a minute. I gotta add, there's the airport development is something that, I actually own some property up there. And I'm looking forward to that going as well.
do you have a defined idea, or have you taken a public stance of any of the current projects that you mentioned in the city?
Thank you for the question. I would say that, as far as a defined idea about projects, I'm excited about the commercial projects that are going on. Mostly because they're gonna make jobs. It's gonna be easier for people to go to work. More amenities that we can access. I think that in a general sense, I would call myself pro-growth, but not just for the sake of growth. I think we should have smart growth. And I also think that what I see going on is positive, and I don't have a problem with any of it. So if that's taking a position, then I would have to say, yeah, I think it's awesome. All right.
Okay. Are there other planning projects or issues that you have concerns about or that you feel are important planning issues facing Clear Lake?
I don't have any specific issues with any of the problems that I'm aware of, or any of the projects that I'm aware of. I don't have any specific problems with the planning department or the general plan. I haven't dealt with it for a few years because like I said, I'm kind of slowing down, getting out of the loop. But I look forward to learning more about what's going on. And it'll be interesting for me to be on the other side of the counter because I've dealt with so many planners over the years that I'll be looking forward to trying the other side.
Thank you. Back to me. Some staff reports and documentation for the planning commission agendas can be several hundred pages long. What would you do to thoroughly prepare and review the planning commission documents before the meeting?
I'm a voracious reader. Part of my education is self-education. I read a lot. Mostly news and current events or other interests. But if the job calls to read through a document that's a couple hundred pages long, I'm going to take it on. I may do it in stages. I may do it a little bit here and a little bit there, but I'll get it done. The next thing I would probably do is my own research. I would then very likely talk to staff, maybe even the city council, to get clued in a little bit more about what's going on. Try to be as thorough as I can in order to be ready.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Can you be available during the day on occasion to serve on an ad hoc committee?
The answer is yes, the short answer. I do have some responsibilities and I'm not fully retired. I call myself mostly retired. I do have things that I take care of. And my wife always finds other things for me to do, but yes, the answer is yes, I'd make it my business to be there.
What would you do as a planning commissioner if you were unsure of how to vote on a particular issue? And how would you handle a decision that you did not agree with?
If there was a vote that I was unsure about, I'm normally pretty decisive about most everything. But if I was unsure, and that will happen, I would probably want to table the item and then satisfy my own curiosity or my own issues and, and then come back and try it again another time. Again, it would probably involve talking to staff, talking to council, talking to the primary people involved. And I would basically be doing my homework and being prepared to make a decision next time around. If the vote went the other way, I guess there's 5 people on the planning commission. So if it was a 3-2 vote and I was on the downside of that, I'd have to accept it, knowing full well that if the person who's applying, if the applicant really feels like it was a bad choice, they could always appeal to a higher power, and that would be y'all. So, but the first part of that is true. I would want to be sure about my decision, and whatever that takes.
Okay. If you were asked to sit on a city council ad hoc committee or subcommittee such as homelessness issues or commercial cannabis ad hocs, what would you do to prepare yourself for that assignment?
Homelessness is that's a poignant subject. I would want to collect as much information as I could. I'm sure that the city staff has some numbers, and we'd know what we're dealing with.
That's an example, Mr. Silva.
Pardon me?
Just example.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, okay, thank you. I'd probably do it. I'd probably accept. That's what you're looking for, okay?
Okay, thanks.
All right, last question. What is your vision of the future of Clearlake?
My vision. That's a big question. I would like to see the city retain its rural feel and its small town atmosphere. I would also very much like to see anyone that wants to work have the availability of a job, which means that I lean towards commercial growth for that reason. I'd like to see people be able to raise their families here, to live here instead of having to traverse the hill. I've got 4 kids. They've all got at least bachelor's degrees. Some of them have extended degrees. They really can't be here because there's nothing here for them. My son is the 4th person. My 4th child also has his bachelor's degree. His job is in construction, and it takes him, most of the work is over the hill, is somewhere other than here. I'd like to see him be able to be local in town. And I think I'd like to see more families be able to support themselves in this town. And the only way that's going to happen is to create jobs that are going to be able to pay them. So for that reason, hence the pro-growth, especially commercial growth.
Thank you, Mr. Silva. You're the last person, I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No. I thank you for your consideration, and
we'll be, I guess, deliberating now then.
Well, excuse me, Administrative Services Director Swanson outlined that the previous policy, just go ahead and rank the candidates here on your sheet, and then she can collect those and tally it up.
I want to make one little comment. I think we're going to have one of the major projects in the city is obviously the airport, in my opinion. And we'll have our EIR, which is the biggest planning document that you can think of, being processed through the planning commission. So that's one big one. And literally there will be not hundreds, but maybe 1,000 pages to go through.
Everybody, right?
Myself from this one, since I already.
Are we gonna know who we're selecting?
But the next one will be up to the three of you and I if we want to make a change. Each on this next one.
I don't think they're all here. I don't see him or Gary. Did they know they were supposed to?
Honorable Mayor and council members. First, I will read out how each council member voted. Oh, no question. Okay. One moment.
Okay, we have to put our names on it. I do know me. Okay, so now we should just make sure we just got our names on it. What happens if they don't show up? Yeah. So we just choose.
There's no ranking.
Oh, right, okay. So it's like out of these, like, just choose who we want. I only know, well, he's in here. I know Gary and Brett, and that's it. No Bill. You know Bill Morgan? Go.
Somebody else.
We can vote for anyone.
Okay. Honorable Mayor and council members. The Brown Act requires that the votes be read aloud. And I will read how each council member voted. So for Jessica Hooton, number 4 was Ray Silva, number 3, Robert Coker, number 2, Carlos Ramos, and number 1, Derek Counts. Councilmember Wilson, number 4, Robert Coker, Number 3, Carlos Ramos. Number 2, Ray Silva. Number 1, Derek Counts. Councilmember Downey. Number 4, Robert Coker. Number 3, Ray Silva. Number 2, Carlos Ramos. Number 1, Derek Counts. Vice Mayor Slotin. Number 4, Robert Coker. Number 2, Derek Counts. Number 3, Carlos Ramos. Number 1, Ray Silva. And Mayor Kramer. Number 4, Robert Coker. Number 3, Carlos Ramos. Number 2, Derek Counts. And number 1, Ray Silva. Tallying up the votes, the final ranking of the candidates is as follows, with 15 points at number 4, Robert Coker, with 13 points at number 3, Carlos Ramos, with 11 points at number 2, Ray Silva, and with 7 points, number 1 is Derek Counts. At this point, it would be appropriate for your council to make a motion to appoint. Oh, actually, we need public comment. So at this point, it would be appropriate to have public comment. And then your council would appoint 2 planning commissioners and possibly 3 with consideration of Chair Williams's request to be reappointed.
Is there any public comment? Mrs. Silva? No? Yes, please. Garcia, I'm sorry. I was looking at the guy to your right.
Margaret Garcia, City of Clear Lake. I know I'm not on the council, so I can't vote, but if I were, I would definitely have, 2 people in mind. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that up here or not. Would it be kosher to? Anyway, I liked Silva and Counts. I thought both of them had good vision, enthusiasm, just a lot going on as far as what they thought Clear Lake should look like. And I think it's definitely needs.
You're in luck, because that's what the council.
All right, well, that's my comment. Thank you.
Any other comments in public in the chamber? Seeing none, are there any on Zoom?
There are no comments on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So we'll bring this back. How do we handle Chairman Williams?
So there is a resolution in the packet.
Okay.
And it would be appropriate to move to adopt the resolution with the appointees' names in the motion. There's a space in the resolution for the appointees' names. And so when the council makes the motion, you would just say, I move to appoint the 3 appointees. Move to approve the resolution number.
Not seeing the resolution. Okay.
It's not a resolution. Well, we could do it by motion and second with the
With
res-
3.
I think do we need a resolution?
I don't think we do. I think just a voice vote or a regular motion, seconds.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll ask for a motion to appoint the 3, the 2 plus the reappointment.
So I move to appoint Counts and Silva as Planning Commission and also to reappoint Chair Williams to a new term.
For a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, there's been a motion by Council Member Downey and a second by Council Member Hooton. Let's vote in the portal. Not working?
It's there. It is now.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
All right, so motion's passed. Our new commissioners are Derek Counts and Ray Silva. Congratulations to the both of you. And thank you, everybody, for giving us your time and stepping up. You will be seated at the next commission meeting. I don't know. When is the next commission meeting?
Well, the regular schedule would be, there will be one next week, but if we don't have any business, right now, we don't have any business for that meeting, so I'm not sure when the next one will be.
Yeah, okay. You may make a comment, Vice Mayor.
I think, Carlos, I'm speaking directly to you. Keep applying. We need people that want to be involved. So thank you for doing that.
I agree with that, by the way. And I do see your name on this next item, which is item number 17. And let me get to it. Is consideration of appointments to the Measure V Oversight Committee. I will introduce Mr. Flora to introduce somebody else.
Mr. Mayor, Council Administrative Services Director Swanson will introduce the item.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and council members. The City Council is being asked to hold interviews of applicants and by motion, appoint Measure V Oversight Committee members. In 2016, the citizens of Clearlake passed Measure V, the road maintenance and improvement transactions and use tax. The ordinance requires council members appoint a 5-member citizen oversight committee to meet annually to review expenditures and appropriations of tax revenues to ensure those revenues are spent or appropriated as set forth in the expenditure plan. Each council member shall appoint 1 committee member. The committee member's term coincides with the appointing council member's term. At the December 5th, 2024 council meeting, 3 council members began new terms, leaving 3 vacancies on the Measure V Oversight Committee. The Oversight Committee is currently made up of the following individuals: Cheryl Allman, appointed by Mayor Kramer, and Bruno Sapatier, appointed by Vice Mayor Slotin. It is the prerogative of each individual council member as to the decision on appointment. However, all committee members must be a resident of the city at the time of appointment and remain a resident while serving on the committee. If a council member chooses an individual who has not submitted an application, that person must fill out a committee application and return it to myself for verification purposes. Additionally, the ordinance states that the mayor shall appoint the chairperson of the committee, subject to the approval of the majority of the council. Staff received 4 applications: Brett Freeman, Gary Logoteta, Bill Morgan, and Carlos Ramos. Applications are attached to the staff report. It is staff's recommendation to interview all applicants. As with the Planning Commission appointments, there are interview questions at your dais. Each applicant will be escorted out of the room to await their turn to be interviewed one by one. At the conclusion of the interviews, council members would then make their appointment independently. The mayor would then appoint a chair, and these choices would then be memorialized in a resolution by motion, which the resolution is in the back. So, just before we begin, I received an email tonight from Mr. Morgan, who states that he is ill and is unable to make the council meeting. He is still interested in the position, however.
We put any information on.
Yeah, so I don't know if the council wants to come up with other direction on this. Only Mr. Ramos is here in person, so you do have interview questions. Of course, you could choose to interview him. Attendance at the meeting is not a requirement for being appointed, but however the council wants to handle it.
Well, or we could table it until they can tell all the or we only have one of the.
Well, I mean, it's really a question. I mean, we did this because some of the council members weren't sure who they wanted to appoint. I believe Councilmember Hooton already has someone in mind that's not on the list, so it's really up to Councilmember Wilson and Councilmember Downey on, you know, if they want to make a selection or they want more time. Either way is
Well,
fine.
that's fine too. I don't see, I guess, a reason to go through the questions for Mr. Ramos. He's the only one here. We heard quite a bit from him in the prior thing that I think answers a lot of my questions. But I'm not voting anyway.
Yeah.
Is that? Well, do we want to go ahead tonight to make the appointment?
Oh, if I can get some more time on this, since we don't have everyone present, I could reach out to, I know a few of these people, so I could reach out to them individually. Is that something?
Councilmember Wilson, what do you?
Can I pick somebody from the?
You can.
I would like to pick, Mr. Ramos.
And you have a choice, so the only one already, the only one that.
Well, Councilmember Hooton hasn't.
Yeah, I'll be assigning Dave Hughes.
Okay. So we only have,
All right, I'll just pick someone.
You don't have to.
you know.
No, it's okay. I'll appoint, Brett Freeman. So.
Okay.
Okay, so as Ms. Swanson mentioned, that those are the appointments, but still be appropriate to adopt the resolution and outlining those three new members.
Oh, yeah, I know. So the resolution. So do you have the?
Resolution number 2025-10.
I've got. -10 or -2?
It should be -10. That's a typo on the resolution.
I'm seeing on mine, it says -2. Okay, resolution's 10. Do we want to, anybody want to make that motion?
All motion to adopt the resolution 2025-10, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Clear Lake appointing members of the Measure V Citizen Oversight Committee. And I need to say the names.
Yeah.
Dave Hughes as appointed by Jessica Hooton, Brett Freeman as appointed by Tara Downey, and Carlos Ramos as appointed by Mary Wilson.
Okay, do we have a second?
I second that.
We have a motion by Councilmember Hooton and a second by Councilmember Downey. Vote in your portal.
Mayor Kramer, we are having internet issues at this time and the portal is not working. Mine is not, sorry, and I can't open the vote without my station.
Okay, so let's do a voice vote then. You want to call the?
can just ask all in favor if you
All
like.
right. Are all the council members in favor of the choices as read in the motion by, council member Putin, seconded by council member
Yes.
Downey?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
I abstain because I don't have the authority to appoint somebody. I say, yes,
Yes.
Yes.
you got it.
And yes, that motion passes. So our new appointees will be Mr. Freeman, Mr. Ramos, and Mr. Hughes. Okay,
Mayor Kramer,
yes,
at this time, it would also be appropriate to appoint a chair.
and I will appoint, Mr. Sabatier as the chair.
At which time the council would then motion and second to
Can I get a-
ratify that
Can I
choice.
get a motion for somebody to verify as Bruno Sabatier as chair of the Measure V committee?
So moved.
And the second?
Second it.
A motion's been made by Vice Mayor Sluten and seconded by Councilmember Wilson. Are we working now?
No, sir.
No? So do a voice vote?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Councilmember Downey?
Yes.
Aye.
And I. Motion passes. We have our Measure V committee. Okay. Moving on to consideration of fiscal year 2026 community project funding request to Congressman Thompson, which would be at resolution 2025-9. Is that correct?
Let's see.
That will be.
Yep.
City Manager Flores. Who's presenting that?
Yes, I will present as soon as you're ready, Mr. Mayor.
I'm ready.
Okay. Okay, so, each year, well, generally each year, Congress, each congressperson has the opportunity to, put forward a number of community funded projects. Used to be referred to as earmarks, but, that term is no longer, considered appropriate. So, basically what happens, each member of Congress can forward 15 projects to the House Appropriations Committee. The House Appropriations Committee will then select the ones that they like, which may or may not then end up in the federal budget. Over the last 3 years, the city has received funding for 2 community funded projects, both of which are the Burns Valley Sports Complex. So a little over $6 million. Last year, we were not successful in receiving any funding from Congressman Thompson through this program. Unfortunately, with the federal situation, things have been a little chaotic this year, and the deadline is tomorrow to submit things to projects to Congressman Thompson. We do need a resolution, some action from the council to forward these projects. So we're not really coming with a real specific project recommendations here. I do have a couple of ideas, but just wanted to share that the council can ask for anything they would like. The game is to try to figure out something that both Congressman Thompson likes and the House Appropriations Committee may also like. And now that the House is under Republican control, the needle may be a little bit more difficult to thread on this. So I've been recommended from Congressman Thompson's office that fire-related projects and water-related projects are probably more attractive. So I guess with that, I'll ask any try to address any questions the council may have, and we can talk about ideas. Assuming we come up with one or two, we would adopt the resolution, with those projects in there, and then, I will spend tomorrow, putting an application together for the city.
Earlier, a couple days ago, you had mentioned a couple of fire-related projects a little bit more detailed. Could you?
Well, yeah, I can share. So one thing that we had talked about previously, we haven't been able to identify funding for is there's a number of platforms out there now that include fire detection cameras, which use physical cameras and then AI algorithms to analyze the area, and it's been shown to they actually, once smoke is detected, call 911, and the response time is faster than just members of the community doing that. And there's other public safety benefits from the camera systems that can be realized. It is quite expensive to install that type of a system. So that's why we haven't figured out a way to move forward. So that's one potential idea. I think trying to focus on sort of the water storage issue a little bit. There's going to be a lot going on in the state around that. We don't really have, I don't think, an opportunity to put in a reservoir or some type of storage like that in our area. But, we do have water storage in the city from 3 different water companies. Maybe there's an opportunity to do some analysis of water modeling of those systems, figure out if there's some opportunities for improvement there. The council also adopted an ordinance last year that required fire hydrant testing. That's something that's probably going to be state law later this year, but one of the complaints that we've heard from the water companies is, lack of resources to do the testing and implement that. We could ask the Congressman Thompson to support funding of that testing. Those are just a few ideas related to fire and water in the city that I had thought about. So
Those are actually two that I think are great ideas. Personally, and those would be two that I'd like to see you go forward with. That's my. I think, I'm sorry, go ahead. I think if you combine the two, water and fire, that probably has the biggest success of getting someone. Yeah.
I'd like to add maybe to include that we were drastically impacted by the new fire map that was put out. Maybe that would kind of give us a little bit more leverage that, and we're not a super rich city, so the money would go a long way.
Yeah. Councilmember Wilson, you have a comment?
I agree with the two. I'd really like to see more fire hydrants when we don't meet what is really a safe standard in the, but I don't know if you can add that or not.
well, I mean, again, we can ask for anything. I think that is something that's potentially fundable. I mean, I think the challenge we have right now is we don't have accurate enough data to really know where to focus that. And I think, maybe working that into the application as part of the modeling, and where do we really need more hydrants, which ones need upgraded or whatever. And then there are a number of funding sources out there that already do exist that could be potentially put to bear to make those physical upgrades. But I think right now we need more of a plan on what to ask for.
So then you could, by getting the funding to check the water meters, which there's no funding for at this point, that could lead us to be able to do another grant later to get more fire hydrants.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, then I'm fine.
I would like to, I think I've mentioned it to you already, but the old redwood tank that Highlands has, I'd like to, if we can, consider that as using funds to help replace or repair, whatever they have in mind to get it up to today's standards. I think that'd be a good gesture.
I agree with that too.
Councilmember Downey, do you have any other comments? Okay, so.
Well, I mean,
don't need-
I would add, and we obviously still need to have public comment. I don't really have a number to put on this quite yet. So hopefully you can trust me enough. I'll come with that number tomorrow based on, these discussions. And of course, I'll share the application, whatever we come up with, or if you want me to check in with the mayor, or anyone else, happy to do that. But I mean, I think, these, well, I mean, there's also, a potential negative to asking for a lot. I mean, most of these earmarks or these community funded projects are $1 million or less normally. We've actually,
You and your staff have been very successful over the last few years, so I think I would trust you to.
I mean, these are mostly planning and technical assistance type of things. I mean, if we add trying to get some funding for a tank, that is a more expensive item. But I'm just throwing that out. I don't really know what the number is we'd be asking for, but I'd have to follow up on that and work through it tomorrow.
Okay, I think you have our direction.
We trust you.
All right, I like that. Thank you. It still would be appropriate
So we
to
have to approve.
make a motion to approve the resolution with the
2025.
aforementioned project.
I put that. Now. Want to make a resolution 2025-9. The resolution of the city council of the city of Clearlake to submit community project funding. Okay, we've got a motion. Need a second?
I'll second it.
Before you vote, we do need to ask for public comment.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good point. Is there any public comment on this? Good. Any? Not sure what that means.
Wait, he's.
Means it's getting late, so. Do we have anything on Zoom?
There are no comments on the Zoom, Mr.
Okay.
Mayor.
Now, we will consider the resolution that you just stated prematurely. And the second by,
Yes, I second it.
Okay.
all right, so we're gonna have a voice vote once again.
I believe that the portal is working. Would you mind?
Mhm. It is.
Now it's working? Yeah, I have city
City council mid-year.
mid-year budget workshop.
Mm,
Okay.
Okay, thank you for trying.
So do we need the voice vote or not? I still don't
Well,
have.
Your vote registered, Vice Mayor Slotin
That's good. I don't,
and Councilmember Wilson.
It's up there. You did
mine
it.
is,
You
mine
did it.
is the amended agenda, city council mid-year.
Mayor Kramer, I think you're the only one who hasn't voted. You could just
I vote yes.
vote yes and
Thank you.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
All right, moving on. Last item. Item 19, update regarding Lake County Sanitation District Southeast System Governance Request. Here, our city manager Flora.
yes, Mr. Mayor, council members, I just wanted to give a brief update that I think is important for y'all to be aware of. So in April of last year, the city council had a discussion and adopted a resolution related to the governance of Lake County Special District Southeast system. So Lake County Special Districts is a dependent district of the county where the Board of Supervisors sit as the governing board. They have a number of water and sewer districts that serve the communities all around the lake. I believe the largest of those is the sewer system serving here in the city of Clearlake, a little bit out to the north of the city boundary, and then parts of Lower Lake. we've had a number of issues and frustrations with operation of the sewer system over the last few years. We also, as was discussed with the council that initiated the resolution under state law, when the city was incorporated, the city should have been given seats as part of the board, and that did not happen. And so the council resolution asked the Board of Supervisors, the Board of Directors of the Sanitation District to have a discussion with us about the city being directly involved in the governance of Southeast system. So that was last April. A couple of weeks ago, we finally had that item before the Board of Supervisors. It was sponsored by Supervisor Sabatier and Supervisor Owen. And so there was actually more discussion about this than I expected. The Board of Directors voted narrowly 3-2 to have a conversation with the city about this, which was quite disappointing to see. But the good news is there will be a discussion. The county has too many things on their plate to have this discussion until after July 1st. So we're going to have to wait quite a bit longer to have the discussion. But we are fortunate that we will be having a discussion with staff from special districts. Supervisor Sabatier and Supervisor Owen will be participating in that discussion with the city. So that's really my update, and I just want to address any questions that the council may have about the process.
Are there any questions? Councilmember Hooden, do you have a question? Councilmember Wilson, do you have a question? Anyone else? No questions.
I have not
No.
a question, but I think it's time we get a little bit involved in it. There've been numerous spills in some places with pump stations not working properly. We have numerous cases where we have odor issues. We need to be a little bit more proactive in dealing with special district on these items. And my pet peeve is the way they calculate sewage or what you pay. In my opinion, it's antiquated and should be updated to more current standards.
I would agree with Vice Mayor Slotin on that. I was also present when it was presented 2 weeks ago on a 3-2 vote, which was disappointing. And then one of the two votes and pushed it off as long as it could possibly be pushed off to July 1st before we will have the discussion with us, which is also disappointing. It is very important that we have a seat or several seats at the table in the running of the Southeast Sewer District. We're 90% of it. Lower Lake maybe got 10 and a little token amount in District 3. This is affecting our city and we have had numerous problems in the past. We have a new special districts director now. She seems to be a little bit more listening to us, but I think that it's very, very important that we do have a seat. Whether that's all of us or whether that's several of us, I'd like to see, I'd honestly like to see us have a majority of the seats for the Southeast sewer plant. That's my feeling. And I think our supervisor already knows my feeling on that. And by the way, you are we're appointed the chair of the Measure V committee.
Thought you wanted it.
Anyhow, do we need any?
Nothing else, just receiving the update, and you do need to allow public comment, of course.
Was there any public comment? Here we go. You have to state your name and.
Button.
There
There
you
we
go.
go. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I appreciate the requests from the city, and I'm glad that we did get approval to move forward with the discussion. I think it is a little bit more complicated than any of us would like to, for the fact that Lake Hosan covers all the special districts for lighting districts, which includes Lower Lake, Kelseyville, Clearlake Oaks, and so on. Includes both of the sewer, both. There's Kelseyville sewer system, there's Northwest sewer system. And so we have to figure out how best to move forward if there's going to be any changes of governance. It's not as simple as just focusing on Southeast, since Lake Hosan focuses on the entirety of everything. So I think there's going to be some learning and some defining of what district is and figuring out what the options are. And so just want to make sure, rather than jump to conclusions as to what needs to happen, I think we're going to have to figure out maybe a breakdown and better understanding of what can happen as well. So hopefully we're all going to be patient as we move forward with this, but I will put out a invite to start the conversation sometime in June, so that as soon as July 1st starts, we can hit the ground running.
I appreciate your comments, Supervisor Bocce. I know you represented our position. I do know your feelings on it, and you know ours. So I have full confidence that you're going to help us to push this thing through to a conclusion that we here in Clear Lake can live with.
And thank you for making me chair while I was stepping away.
Yeah. Okay, that's the end of the business numbers. We now move to city manager and council member reports. Did you have something? Yeah. No, I was. Okay. City manager Flora.
Mr. Mayor, council members, a few items. The Boyles Fire cleanup has made some progress. Really, the only thing remaining is the properties that we did not receive right of entries for. Last week, I signed summary abatement orders on those. So Cal Recycle is moving through their process. I got word just this afternoon that they will likely be finishing up those or starting debris cleanup on those properties again next week. So it was a little sooner than what we expected, but that is, I think, finally coming to an end. So we're going to be moving into our next phase of kind of helping those property owners with the recovery. March 19th, we're planning on having a workshop for the property owners, have our building planning staff here. We'll be inviting all of them to come and talk about, rebuilding, how that would look, answer their questions. I mean, we've talked to a number of folks across the counter already, but we thought it would be nice to try and do it that way, as many people as can attend. And then of course we'll be working with anyone else if they can't make it on an individual basis. Also related to that, the California Disaster Assistance and the I'm going blank on the acronym, the FMAG, or the two applications for our response and recovery efforts related to that fire, have all been submitted, and so the state is reviewing those applications. Last meeting we talked about a eminent domain case. There was some questions from the property owners about really understanding the maps and things like that. I just wanted to let the council know that today our surveyor met on site with the property owners, and they said that they have a clear understanding of all of that now. So I want to give you that update. There's been a number of reports of debris that is causing some blockages kind of in Burns Valley Creek. I want to let you know that our Public Works crew this week has been working on that. And then I guess the final thing, the Cal Recycle grants for cleanup of blighted properties. the contract's been awarded. We have to get warrants on all those. So 8 of the warrants are received and work will begin on 8 properties next week and then 7 of the properties the week after that. So I think with that, that's my report.
Okay, thank you. Start with Councilmember Wilson. You have
I have nothing to.
anything to report? Okay, Councilmember Hood,
Same, I have nothing to report.
Councilmember Downey.
I actually do have something to report. I know it's been a long night, so bear with me. So I recently made a connection, between the tribal ambassador with, Pomo of Upper Lake with, our local SPCA of Lake County, which, helps out with spay and neutering for, local residents of all Lake County. So it benefits all residents here in Clearlake because they offer free spay and neutering, and then also they have a feral cat clinic. So the tribe of Poem of Upper Lake, I cannot pronounce it, so I'm not gonna say. I'm not good. Yeah, something like that. Okay. So like I said, I made a connection, and they are donating $18,000 to the next pet fix, which will be in June, and they spay and neuter 300 animals in 3 days. So that's pretty amazing. And then they also sponsored 1 feral cat clinic with $3,700. So yeah, so that's one thing that is good.
Good
forward.
going.
Yeah.
Excellent. Vice Mayor Sloat.
I have absolutely nothing to report because I was out of,
Well, you can tell us
Country.
about police.
You're out of the country?
I've spent some time fishing and enjoying cultural sites in the Central American country of Belize, which used to be called British Honduras.
Okay. And lastly, I attended by Zoom the City Selection Committee, Mayor's Committee, rather, in which I named Vice Mayor Slotin as our member for LAFCO and myself as alternate. And the Airport Commission, which is an important one, I named myself as a member and Vice Mayor Slotin as alternate, which has been the way it's been for the last 3 years, by the way.
When are they gonna have a meeting?
I don't know. The next thing, I also attended CalCog, California Council of Governments, is the acronym. Meeting on Wednesday. I quite honestly didn't get a lot out of it because on Zoom, the hearing was not good. But I will be attending the next one in person because I think it's important. Next week, March 13th, I knew you'd know, remind me. We have the Fire Safe Town Hall here at 6 o'clock. That's Fire Safe Council that we are forming, plus Fire Wise Communities. So we'll be having speakers from, I don't know if it's Chief Cepeda or Fire Marshal Lancaster or both. And the members of clerk will be given presentations and possibly one more. So it's an important meeting that goes to our fire resiliency. And also, I know that you probably would have said that if you remembered,
Well, I did remember.
but I'll let you go ahead and.
So, next week, Thursday at 5 o'clock, March 13th, the, Yuba College District, Board is meeting at Woodland Community College, and it's open at 5 o'clock for public comment. So come and we would like to have as many folks as possible because there's, 3 brand new board members, and we want to make sure that that they understand how important the college is to the city of, the county and the city of Clearlake. It's at 5 o'clock, next week, Thursday.
On Wednesday, March 13th.
No, it's March 13th is the Thursday.
Is that a Thursday?
Yeah.
That's the Thursday, okay. Anyhow, they're both important meetings, the 5 o'clock session really to speak up and let the new board know how important Clear Lake is and Lake County is
to Woodland College system. And the Fire Safe Council Town Hall is also very important. So the idea is to be down there at 5 o'clock and get your public comments in, and then come here at 6 or shortly after to attend this presentation. That's all we have. Future agenda items. We have anybody have any suggestions that they want considered? No? Okay. And I will adjourn at 8, is that at 8:40? You keep looking at it.
Adjourn to closed session.
Yes, we're adjourning to closed session at 8:40 PM. We'll take a quick break.